Okay, we'd like to call to order the Town of Niskayuna Planning Board and Zoning Commission, October 20th, 2025 Planning Board meeting. Ms. Bergami, could you please call the roll?
Mr. Laflamme?
Here.
Ms. Strain? Ms. Belofsky?
Here.
Ms. Gold?
Present.
Chairman Darpino?
Here. Next up is the approval of the September 29th, 2025 meeting minutes. May I get a motion? A motion by Ms. Strang,
A second.
a second by Mr. Laflamme. Any comments or corrections? I had none. Okay, all in favor of the September 29th, 2025 meetings minutes as submitted, state by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, September 29th, 2025 meetings minutes are approved. Next up is public hearings. We do not have any public hearings, so we'll move on to privilege of the floor. Privilege of the floor is open to any resident of Niskayuna wishing to speak about any zoning or planning matter. Please approach the podium and state your name and address for the record. Is there anyone here present wishing to speak at privilege of the floor? Okay, looks like there's none. Ms. Robertson, do we have any correspondence, or is there anyone online wishing to speak?
Nope, we did not get any letters or emails this month.
Okay. All right, so last call for privilege of the floor. Seeing is done, privilege of the floor is closed. There's no unfinished business, so we'll move on to new business. First up is Resolution 2025-28, a site plan application for new signage at Community Bank at 420 Balltown Road. Now therefore, be it hereby resolved that this Planning Board and Zoning Commission does hereby classify this application as a Type 2 action under seeker regulations, and no further action is required. Further resolved that the Planning Board and Zoning Commission finds the above referenced site plan application meets the requirements of the zoning code and therefore hereby approves this signage plan. May I get a motion? Motion by Ms. Strang,
I'll second.
a second by Ms. Belofsky. Do we have a representative from the applicant online?
Hi there, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hi there. I believe, was that a full approval? Did I hear that right?
Sure. Could you just state your name for the record?
Sure, Christine Bracciaferro for Sign Pro Inc. and
Okay,
Community Bank.
thank you. Yeah, so the resolution is pretty straightforward. This is a code compliant signage package. We reviewed this at the last meeting. Open up to discussion. Anybody have any comments or concerns? Okay, looks pretty straightforward. So if you have any questions for the board, you can ask him.
No questions from the board, as long as you have everything you need from me.
Okay. Seeing there's no further discussion, Ms. Bergami, could you please call the roll?
Mr. Laflamme?
Aye.
Ms. Strain?
Aye.
Ms. Belofsky?
Aye.
Ms. Gold?
Aye.
Chairman Darpino?
Aye, resolution passes. All right. Thank you. Okay, next up is Resolution 2025-29, a resolution to make a recommendation to the town board regarding a site plan application requiring a special use permit for the operation of a place of worship at a single-family home at 3406 Albany Street. I am the project lead for that. So the way that we're going to do this special use permit is I'm going to read the resolution and the conditions first. Then we are going to get the motions that we normally do. And then there are some findings that were part of your packet. We're going to read those findings, go through each one. And then if that needs to be edited, Ms. Robertson here will take those notes. We will then include those findings into the recommendation package that goes to the town board. If from that discussion, we need to have any other conditions or anything needs to be amended, we will then vote on those after, okay? So now, therefore, be it hereby resolved that this Planning Board and Zoning Commission hereby recommends that the town board grant a special use permit for the operation of a place of worship at a single-family dwelling at 3406 Albany Street, as shown in the aforementioned drawings, subject to the conditions below and final site plan approval by the Planning Board. The findings for this recommendation by the Planning Board are attached to this resolution. Number one, due to the small size of the lot and the distance to the lot lines, there shall be no indoor or outdoor noise amplification or speaker system of any kind to limit the noise impacts to adjacent residences. 2, lighting shall be minimal and directed away from the residential properties and open sky. Exterior lighting shall turn off at 9:00 p.m. at night to limit lighting impacts to adjacent residences. 3. Building code requirements, such as but not limited to the provision for the bathrooms, shall be reviewed and compiled with prior to site plan approval. 4. Parking requirements shall be calculated per Schedule I-C, Column 6, which states, the minimum off-street parking requirement for a place of worship is 1 space for each 200 square face of flood area, but not less, it should be floor area, not less than 1 space for each 4 seats where provided. Therefore, the number of seats provided in the place of worship becomes a controlling factor for parking. The number of seats shall be limited by the planning board so that the parking can be fully contained on the existing lot. Expansion of the seating or parking in future shall not be allowed. 5. A final parking plan shall be reviewed and approved by the planning board and shall include waivers to allow for grass or grass techs or pavers for parking and bank parking to protect the existing green space, lawn area, and ensure the property is harmonious with the surrounding neighborhood. 6. A final landscaping plan shall be reviewed and approved by the tree council. Additional landscaping or fencing may be required to ensure parking, lighting, and noise are adequately buffered. And 7. The location of this structure requires area variances from the Zoning Board of Appeals. Any site plan approval are contingent upon the variance. So, may I get a motion? A motion by Ms. Strang. I will second that. So we're going to move on to the findings. Mr. Hirschberg, if you, at this point, you can come up to the podium if you choose to. Okay. So you had a chance to hear the 7 conditions. Are those all okay?
Yeah, we're okay with all of them, yeah. The question of parking again, we don't want to build any parking, we don't have to, and if we can use grass or the permeable pavers, we'd appreciate doing that. Don't
Okay.
have to build any more asphalt than we have to.
Can you, can you pull the microphone down to you? Yes.
Okay, is that better?
All right, so we're going to go through the findings. I'm going to read all the findings. We'll go through each one of these. So special use permit application for 3406 Albany Street, operation of a place of worship at single family dwelling. And this is the October 20th, 2025 findings. In consideration of a recommendation of the town board for special use permit to operate a place of worship at a single family dwelling by Mayo M. Kang, representative of the owner, the planning board finds the following in relation to section 220-44, review of said site plan application, and section 220-60, special use permit. Section 220-44 for site plan. Number 1, full conformance of the site plan with regulations of Article 5 and 6 and all other provisions of this chapter. For a single-family home, the bulk zoning requirement in the R2 zone are a 9,000 square foot lot, 80 feet wide by 100 feet deep. This lot is 14,162 square feet, 80 feet wide by, on average, 174 feet deep. It generously meets the R2 zoning requirements for a single-family home, although it is a through lot and has 2 front yards. Setbacks are pre-existing for the single-family home and therefore compliant. The place of worship structure requires an area variance from the zoning board for being placed slightly closer to Gassner Ave than the original garage structure was before it fell down. For a place of worship, the code requires 2 acres, a minimum of 150 feet wide by a minimum of 150 feet deep. This lot is therefore deficient or substandard in terms of lot size for place of worship. The town board must take this into consideration when granting a special use permit for the lot. There is no good way to add land to this lot, and as the adjacent lots are developed single-family residential homes, the applicant process proposes to mitigate the smaller lot size with fencing and landscaping treatments to the grounds and limiting the size of the congregation to limit parking requirements and the intensity use of the site. Schedule IC column 6 states the minimum off-street parking requirements for a single-family dwelling is 1 space per dwelling exclusive of the driveway access area. Schedule IC column 6 states that the minimum off-street parking requirements for a place of worship is one space for each 200 square feet of floor area, but not less than one space for each 4 seats where provided. The building at 984 square feet would require 5 parking spaces. Therefore, the number of seats becomes a controlling factor for the parking requirements. The planning board shall work with the applicant to limit the number of seats in the structure to match the number of off-street parking spaces to be required. The parking shall be calculated based upon the number of seats for a regular Sunday service. Special events that occur once or twice a year have the parking available to them from Upstate Guns and Ammo and Graham's Parlor, but these off-site parking spaces will not be used to calculate seating requirements. One point of discussion there. Did Graham's Parlor put anything in writing yet?
Yeah, there is a letter from them.
Okay.
However, we did research their hours of operation and they are open during the time that they normally have services at this place. So
Okay.
we don't think that that's the same sort of type of compliance or sort of complementary hours as Upstate Guns and Ammos, which is closed.
Thank you for the clarification. Okay, section 220-19B, subsect 1, subsect I. In the case of combination of uses, the total requirement for off-street parking spaces shall be the sum of the requirements for the various uses, unless it can be proven that staggered hours of use would permit modification. Required parking spaces are therefore what the planning board determines are needed for the place of worship, plus 1 space for the single-family dwelling use. Section 220-19E states, construction of parking area. All open parking areas shall be paved and shall be properly drained. If, in the judgment of the planning board, the required parking would be excessive, the planning board may allow up to 25% of the required parking to be unpaved under bond to allow extra landscaped area. The planning board shall consider banking some of the parking and allowing some of the parking to remain grass or grass text in order to preserve the residential character of the lot. Increasing the pavement on the property would increase the commercial nature, therefore grass and grass text pavers would be required waivers and bank parking. Good so far? Yeah. Okay. Number 2, the adequacy and arrangement of vehicular traffic, access and circulation, including intersections, road widths, channelization structures, and traffic controls. Considerations will also be given to the project's impact on the overall circulation system as it relates to adjacent uses. Albany Street is owned by Schenectady County and is classified by New York State Department of Transportation as a minor arterial and carries thousands of cars a day. This project proposed to add 3 to 4 vehicle trips, not during peak times on Sundays. The planning board finds little to no impact on traffic circulation in the neighborhood. Okay. Number 3, the adequacy and arrangement of the pedestrian traffic access and circulation, including but not limited solely limited to separation of pedestrian from vehicular traffic, walkway structures, control of intersections with vehicular traffic, and overall pedestrian convenience. This proposal does not include any additional pedestrian traffic infrastructure, but pedestrian traffic will be limited to members of the place of worship occasionally parking at Upstate Guns and Ammo and crossing the street. Complete Streets and Conservation Advisory Council have discussed the possibility of a crosswalk, but given the low number of pedestrian crossings in the area, it is likely not warranted. There is no adjacent sidewalk or other pedestrian infrastructure that this project could tie into. Okay. The location, arrangement, and setting of off-street parking and loading areas. The location, arrangement, and setting of off-street parking is key to the project review. Parking requirements will be calculated by a maximum of 30 seats, and the site will not have the ability to expand in the future because there is no room for additional square footage or additional parking. The site is small and extremely constrained. Parking cannot exceed 8 designated parking spots. The planning board does not want to see overflow parking in the neighborhoods negatively impact adjacent residences. Therefore, the number of seats must be limited to allow the site to fully contain the regular parking requirements of the congregation. Number 5, the location, arrangement, and size and design of buildings, lighting, and signs. The planning board reviewed the lighting and property and requested it be replaced with lower intensity bulbs and be turned off by a timer at night. There is no small sign on a single family home. The planning board may wish to discuss a larger sign to notify neighbors or potential home buyers of the adjacent land use. The place of worship fits well within the lot and is surrounded by a 6-foot-high fence. There is landscaping both outside and in the fence that softens the views, and the property is well maintained. Number 6, the adequacy, type, and arrangement of trees, shrubs, and other landscaping constituting a visual and/or noise deterring buffer between those and adjacent properties. No indoor or outdoor amplification of noise will be allowed because this is a residential neighborhood and the structure is close to the adjacent residences. Fencing and landscaping exist that the planning board can review, and adding additional landscaping to further buffer the neighbors if requested. Number 7, in the case of multifamily complexes, the adequacy of usable open space for controlled and informational recreation. This item is not applicable. Number 8, the adequacy of provisions for the disposal of stormwater, sanitary waste, water supply for both fire protection and general consumption, solid waste disposal, and snow removal storage areas. Stormwater was reviewed by the engineering department when the structure received a building permit to allow the reconstruction of the existing garage. Provisions for a bathroom should be reviewed further during the site plan. The structure must comply with fire codes for places of public assembly. There are adequate areas to the south of the proposed places of worship and driveway, inside the fencing and away from the neighbors, that can handle snow storage. Okay, number 9, the adequacy of structures, roadways, and landscaping in areas with moderate to high susceptibility to flooding and ponding and/or erosion. The structure has been completed as a garage for over a year with no complications about flooding, ponding, or erosion from any of the neighbors, nor has any issues been observed by the planning department. Since no additional impervious area is proposed for the conversion into a place of worship, the existing building configuration is adequate. It is important to note that the formal parking spots proposed inside the fence use permeable pavers and allow grass to grow up through them, as well as for water to absorb into the soil. Number 10, protection of adjacent properties against noise, glare, unsightliness, or other objectionable features. The planning board recognizes the potential impacts of a place of worship on adjacent neighbors, especially in the case of retrofitting a single-family home. They note that any request like this must be considered very carefully and meet very strict requirements to reduce noise, glare, unsightliness, or other objectionable features. No amplification of sound through the indoor or outdoor speakers is allowed. The lighting shall be minimal and turned off at night. Fencing and landscaping shall be used to buffer the neighbors. Seating shall be limited to limit the number of cars entering or exiting the property on Sundays. To the maximum extent practical, this property shall function primarily as a single-family home and secondarily as a small place of worship for a limited amount of people to gather and worship peacefully in a small accessory structure. Number 11, the retention of existing trees for protection and control of soil erosion, drainage, and natural beauty. No trees are proposed to be removed for this proposal, and existing trees have been planted. Additional landscaping can be reviewed if necessary. Number 12, in the case of multifamily complexes, average density developments, planned unit developments, and commercial developments, excessively similarity and or excessively dissimilarity or inappropriateness to any other structures existing or for which a permit has been issued, or to any other structure included in the permanent application. This item is not applicable. Okay. So those items all address the site plan portion.
Dave, do we want to, this is just a question. Do we want to discuss any of those now, or are we going to come back and discuss these at the end when we're through the special use permit portion?
We can recap this section now if we want to, but generally if the board wants to weigh in on any of these as we read them, we usually discuss them as we go.
The only comments I had is, Laura, maybe on number 4, maybe you might want to explain where the 30 came from and the 8 parking spaces.
Yeah, the 30 is based on the site plan. It states a 30 maximum seats on the site plan. And then you use the schedule I, C, column 6. So 200 square feet of floor area, but not less than one space for each 4 seats were provided. So if they're providing 30, it's 30 divided by 4.
Right.
Okay.
So you're essentially limiting the occupancy to 30 people then?
Yeah, correct. On a normal Sunday.
Okay. And there's one other item, it might come up in the special use permit, but I know there's one part of the code that says when there's two uses kind of like this, or when there's the single family home and the place of worship, that the land area is supposed to be the sum of the two requirements. So that's something that's just being mitigated by the measures outlined in the findings document. So it's supposed to be whatever the lot size for a single family home plus the size of a place of worship.
Okay. Okay, so next up are the findings for section 220-60 for the special use permit. First one is general character. The current general character of the project site area is that of a transition zone between a well-established traditional single-family home neighborhood and commercial businesses along State Street within the commercial highway CH zoning district. The adjacent lots are all existing single-family homes clustered close together, and across the street is all commercial businesses. Places of worship are allowed in single-family neighborhoods and often integrate into neighborhoods, but the board could not find any that were this small and also contained a single-family home. The goal with this project is to ensure that this facility can fit in with the existing single-family homes and continue to protect the residential character of the south side of Albany Street. Okay. Everyone's in concurrence with that? Okay. Height and use of the land. There is no significant height to the proposed place of worship. It is within zoning code limits of 15 feet high. The proposed uses, a place of worship in a single-family home, are allowable uses in the R2 medium density residential zoning district. The size of the lot for the use as a place of worship is substandard. The lot can only accommodate a maximum of 8 parking spaces, so the number of seats must be limited so that the activity fits the lot and does not negatively impact the neighborhood. The planning board recognizes that this site is not ideal for a place of worship because it is too small and already developed as a single-family home. This is mitigated by the fact that Niskayuna is a community with limited opportunities to build new places of worship, and that this building and congregation are very small. Therefore, the board shall work to reduce the impacts of the noise, glare, and parking for the property through fencing, landscaping, lighting requirements, parking requirements, and noise reduction requirements. The proposal is unique and supported by the surrounding neighborhood, but it should also be recognized that the site is extremely constrained and cannot support growth in the future. It must maintain a 924 square foot limited seating, low intensity use within the neighborhood. Building or structures. The project does not propose to change any of the existing buildings or structures on the parcel. It proposes to repurpose the rebuilt garage into a small place of worship. The existing rebuilt garage does require an area variance for the Zoning Board of Appeals to the Gassner Ave front lot line. Okay, provisions of open space and treatment of grounds. The property is 63% green space, and that this includes a large lawn, landscaping, fencing, and a large tree in the front yard between the home and Albany Street. The fencing and landscaping are critical to buffer the proposed use to the neighboring properties. It is also important that the parking spaces would be built using GrassTex pavers that look like lawn and allow grass to grow and water to pass through, but protect the soil from getting muddy from regular parking. General fitness of the structure and or uses proposed location. The planning board finds this particular structure on this particular lot is generally okay because the fencing, landscaping, limited parking, limited occupancy, and low noise levels. When considering retrofitting a property within an existing neighborhood for a place of worship, each detail must be examined carefully to ensure that the surrounding neighborhoods are protected from higher intensity use than the original lot was built for. Provision for automobile parking or storage. The provisions for automobile parking and storage will be tied to the number of seats allowed within the accessory structure proposed for the place of worship. The final number shall be determined by the planning board, but will be code compliant. So I think right now the general consensus is 8 parking spaces, and then we may have the ability to possibly waive one of those,
Yeah.
25%.
There's currently only 6. There's currently only 6 spaces shown on the drawing, so, so 25% of them can be waived, and then the other ones would have to be built out of grass tex pavers or whatever.
Street capacity and use. The street has no known capacity concerns. Public health and convenience. The planning board finds that this is an important component to this proposal to ensure there is no light pollution or noise pollution from the site onto the adjacent residential homes. This will need to be confirmed during final site plan review. And then preservation of general character of the neighborhood. On one hand, the development is disharmonious to the existing residential homes adjacent to the property. At the same time, the current site plan mitigates the impact to the residential neighborhood character through strict requirements for fencing, landscaping, parking, and noise and lighting.
I just have one question. If we go back to building or structures, it says the existing rebuilt garage does require an area variance from zoning board, but not a use. It's built into this. Okay, just wanted to verify that. Thank you.
So following this resolution, we then have a recommendation that's going to follow this. It'll go to the zoning board of appeals. So we'll touch on some of those items.
Laura, just a question. Does your 8 parking spaces, does that include the 1 parking space for the single family home? Or was that just based on the?
Yeah, so I think what's really important to talk about is that final site plan will set the final parking space requirement. I don't think that that's been fully determined yet, except for the fact that it'll be code compliant. But I think that 8 parking spaces total can fit on the lot. Currently, the site plan shows 6. I think that there's room to add 1 more along Albany Street and 1 more inside the fence. But essentially, you'd probably have to limit the congregation to something like 28 or 20, whatever it is, so that it's actually 7 spaces for the place of public worship and then 1 for the single family home. But that actual calculation would be in final site plan.
Okay.
Okay, so we'll open up to discussion.
Yeah, going back to condition 2, that it just says exterior lighting shall turn off at 9 PM at night. And it seems to apply globally to the entire property. And that's far more restrictive than we place on residential properties. I would think at least the lights on the existing home should be allowed if needed.
Yes, we can modify it. I agree, Leslie, to like exterior lighting specific to the place of worship shall turn off at 9 PM. So
That makes me much more comfortable.
Yeah.
Because the homeowner might need to get in and out of.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So just once what you discuss, I like to say is we keep mentioning after 9 p.m. no light is totally agreeable because we keep mentioning all the activity is from 12 p.m. to 3 p.m. So technically there's nothing after 6 p.m. Even one person stay in this home, there's no light, and then he used to meditate, and then even in this friend house, there's no light technically. So nobody go out in this fencing area, compound area. Nobody go out after 9 p.m. Even after 6 p.m. Nobody go out.
Yeah, but the point here is that if you have a light over a door at a residential house, that should not be restricted by this.
Mhm.
You want to
That's
light
my
the
point.
entrance so people can see if they do go out after it's dark. And it gets dark a lot earlier than 9 PM sometimes, like now.
Right. Yeah, there's a couple light poles existing outside right now, and
Yeah.
actually the building doesn't have any windows, so.
Just for this security light bulb, that's it. No glare, no sound. And also in the resolutions, for the parking muddy area for the grass, once a week parkings and there's no issue of muddy grassings, issue of this grass area, no disruption, just once a week parking.
All right, so we've got one proposed modification to condition number 2. We'll keep going through this. Do we have any others? Sure.
You don't propose any signage for your place, or do you?
We have the signs in front of the buildings. This is for which purpose? Our building temple name is there. Yeah, we have it.
It's small.
Yeah, it's not,
It's on the single family home. Yeah.
very innocuous.
But like we were saying that we may want to review that for site plan so that like if someone was considering buying a home next to it, that they would actually realize that they were buying a home next to a place of worship.
Some of the businesses, even along Balltown Road here, have they're even smaller than real estate signs that hang
Yeah.
there, just identification signs. They're tastefully done and just bring a little bit more attention that there's a different business there than a private residence.
Apply whatever the
Okay.
board thinks is.
Okay, any other items on these conditions before we vote to amend? Okay, so Ms. Gold has proposed to modify condition number 2 to read exterior lighting specific to the place of worship shall be minimal and directed away from the residential properties and open sky. Exterior lighting shall turn off at 9 PM at night to limit lighting impacts to adjacent residences. May I get a second? Second by Ms. Strang. Okay. All in favor of the amended condition number 2, state by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. So now we have an amended resolution here. And with the findings, is there any further discussion? Okay, thank you. Ms. Bergami, could you please call the roll?
Mr. Laflamme?
Aye.
Ms. Strain?
Aye.
Ms. Bilofsky?
Aye.
Ms. Gomes?
Aye.
Ms. Gold?
Aye.
Chairman Garpino?
Aye. Resolution passes for a recommendation for a special use permit to the town board.
So our next activity is November 13th at the town board. Lord, you have
So
the
they-
They're going to set the public hearing then.
So this Thursday, they're calling for the public hearing.
Oh, okay.
But you don't have to come to that meeting. And then the public hearing is their regular meeting in November, which I think is the 20th, although that date may change because depends on when they have to adopt the budget. And then the denial is in the packet. We are taking action on it. We do need to finalize exactly which parts are going to go to the zoning board, but we would give you the option to go to the zoning board in November or December.
All right. So next up is the recommendation to the ZBA for 3406 Albany Street, a place of worship. I'm the project lead on that. So what we'll do is order for this to go forward. I'd like to read the section here that has the yeah, go ahead.
Okay,
Okay,
so
so
the citations for this property, we broke them out into the residential home and then also like to Clark's point, kind of the special use permit. We're still not 100% clear all what needs to go to the zoning board, so we put everything in here to be safe. The planning board, I talked to Elena this morning. He's comfortable with the planning board making a recommendation on everything, and then if we carve some things off for zoning board because we determine that it's not needed, that's okay. So for the residential property, section 220-18B3B states that the required side and rear yard dimensions for major accessory structures shall be the same as applies to the principal building. Major accessory structures are defined as detached accessory buildings or other structures in excess of 120 square feet. The accessory structure at 984 square feet is a major accessory structure. This is probably giving Sarah a flashback to the zoning board. Section 220-13 Schedule IC requires a 30-foot front yard setback. As constructed, the garage is 17.6 feet to the front property line at its closest point. Therefore, a 12.4 front foot yard setback variance is required. Section 220-18A2 states that, except as otherwise specified in this chapter, accessory structures are not permitted in the front yard of any lot. This lot is a through lot with frontages on both Albany Street and Gasner Ave. The accessory structure is currently located in the front yard between the rear of the home and Gasner Ave. Therefore, a variance from this section is required. That's very normal zoning board speak for accessory structures. And essentially, because it didn't get built in the exact same place, it triggers all of the requirements that a brand new structure in the yard would. So that's why that's cited there. Furthermore, is regarding of the site plan, place of worship does not meet the zoning code section 220-13 Schedule IC. So Schedule 220-13 IC states for a place of worship that 2 acres are required with a minimum lot width of 150 feet and a minimum lot depth of 150 feet. The minimum yard dimensions for a place of worship are 50-foot front yard setback and 25-foot side yard setback. As proposed, the place of worship would be held on 0.33 acre lot that is 80 feet wide and an average depth of 174.27 feet. Therefore, a 1.66 acre lot size variance and a 70-foot lot width variance would be required. As proposed, the building is 17.6 feet to the front property line at its closest point and 16.9 feet from the side property lines at the closest. Therefore, a 32.4 front yard setback variance is required and 2 8.1-foot side yard setbacks are required.
All right, thank you, Ms. Robson.
Mhm.
So we spent quite a bit of time piercing through all of this, and this is the result of that. So we mentioned before that, we had a pretty good idea that this was going to go to the zoning. This is the list that we came up with. I feel it's pretty appropriate to include all of these items. If anybody wants to go through these one at a time, we can do that like we did with the findings. And then we can make our recommendation for the zoning board of appeals. Does anybody have any specific concerns on any of those?
Saw, I just joined here. Are you guys talking about my application?
No, you're later in the meeting, so go ahead and put yourself on mute, and when we get there, we'll call you. Yeah, no problem.
Okay. All right, so with every zoning board referral, we have 3 questions that we ask, and we'll begin with the
Yeah.
first one. So the first one is the effect on the comprehensive plan. I would propose that, yes, this does have an effect on the comprehensive plan. Specifically, I'm going to cite page 77 of the comp plan, which is a reference to the State Street corridor. This lineal urban strip is loaded on both sides with several types of businesses, from large-scale plots to small single-unit buildings. It is lined with residential neighborhoods that back up to both sides. In the second paragraph, the town should continually seek out development opportunities that will enhance the corridor, but not significantly transform the current character. So this was touched on in our findings. I think there's definitely, this definitely affects that section of the comprehensive plan. We've touched on it before. So open that up to discussion.
Compared to commercial uses that might go into that area, I see a very minor effect on the comprehensive plan.
Right. The other 2 things that are loosely connected to the comprehensive plan, one is houses of worship are typically require 2-acre minimum lot sizes. We've touched on that before. And then the other one is the reference that this is a large accessory structure in a small residential neighborhoods and the impact on the surrounding residents. Even though there is a large accessory structure there, that's what the classification is, it does blend into the property. It doesn't jump out significantly. So those of us that have toured the project site can probably attest to that as well. So based on those items, I would say that the effect on the comprehensive plan is a yes. All in favor state by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
I would say a very minimal.
Next up is suitability of use. So I would say that the building is suitable for its use. However, it currently lacks some amenities that the code enforcement is reviewing. There are also large stipulations that would be put on this for site plan approval.
Do we, because the zoning board really only sees these projects very shortly.
Mhm.
I don't think they dive into them as in much detail for suitability of use. Do we want to flesh that out a little more and maybe bring some of the findings over? Because the town board gets those findings, but the zoning board gets this recommendation. So I will read this into the record, and it may help further their understanding of the project.
Okay.
If maybe we took some of the paragraphs from the findings about the general use and brought them in here.
I would support that.
I agree.
So I'm thinking, oops. There's two places really where we talk about use a whole lot. But probably on the special use permit, the height and use of land paragraph. And then it's planning board one. Yeah, maybe number 1 and number 10, parts of number 1 and number 10 in the site plan findings.
Okay. Any other discussion points? Yeah. So for suitability of use, as stated before, the building would be suitable for the present use that it is, and we would include conditions 1 and 10 from the site plan findings. All in favor, state by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay. And then the recommendation. So for this is the proposal that I would put forth. In an effort to work on this unique application for a house of worship, the applicant has agreed to multiple restrictions that condition the use of the property. The applicant has made several agreements, written and verbal, with neighboring commercial businesses for additional parking if needed on Sundays. The current use of the building and site is not anticipated to increase beyond the current number of members. Large-scale gatherings are to be held off premises. The property is currently occupied, and it is anticipated that it will remain so. I felt that it would be appropriate to relay some of the previous meeting information that we have so that the zoning board knows how many meetings have been there, what restrictions have been placed on the property, and how the applicant has worked through that process. Any other items?
Are you recommending approval?
Yes, I'm recommending approval.
I don't think you stated
I'm
that.
sorry.
I would just comment that we had gotten some positive feedback from the neighbors that this use was welcome and that they didn't feel it would be a negative impact. In fact, it was more of a positive impact. And that the traffic wouldn't be much, as stated by the Smart Streets and the feedback we got in that write-up.
I agree with Mr. Laflamme's comments, and I do think they should be noted.
We'll add notes about the adjacent neighbors provided positive feedback and the traffic impact is proposed to be negligible. Okay, so all in favor of the recommendation to the zoning board of approvals for the all aforementioned zoning items, please state by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you for a long journey with us. We
Yeah.
wish you the best at the next couple meetings. And hope
We've
to
got
see you
an
here in
outline of other meetings we have to
Correct.
go to. Okay.
All right, we appreciate all your time and effort. Okay. Next up is our last resolution, Resolution 2025-30, a resolution for site plan approval for a new pavilion at the Glen Eddy at 1 Glen Eddy Drive. I will be chairing this one as well. Do we have a representative online?
Yeah, I don't see him in here or online.
Okay, all right, great. Okay, now therefore, hereby resolved that the Planning Board and Zoning Commission does hereby classify this application as a type 2 action under seeker regulations and no further action is required. And further resolved that the Planning Board and Zoning Commission finds the above referenced site plan meets the requirements of the zoning code and therefore hereby approves this site plan for the new pavilion with the following conditions. Number 1, prior to the closeout of the building permit, 2 or 4 street trees shall be planted in a line along Clute Crest Drive to limit any views of the structure from Clute Crest and to provide shade to the walkers in the area. I'll make a motion to approve the resolution. Second by Ms. Strang. Open this up to discussion. So as a recap, this went to zoning. They did approve the height variance of the approximately 6.5 feet. Noted that it is hardly visible from the backside. Thank you, Laura. The visuals that are up there. The condition of adding those street trees on the one side, I think will be nice. And if the applicant's open to that, that would be great. I think that kind of recaps the major part of the project.
I just add that I was recently there for lunch and could see the existing tent roof, and I think the permanent one, both aesthetically and from a safety standpoint, are a good addition to
Oh.
the structure.
Especially after today's wind.
Yeah.
So, okay.
I think it's a very nice addition to the property.
Yeah.
It will clearly benefit the residents.
Okay. There's no further discussion. Ms. Bergami, could you please call the roll?
Mr. Laflamme,
Aye.
Ms. Strain,
Aye.
Ms. Bilowski,
Aye.
Ms. Gomes,
Aye.
Ms. Gold,
Aye.
Chairman Darpino.
Aye, resolution passes. Okay. That's it for new business. Now on to discussion items. First up is 2757 Aqueduct Road, Niskuna Harbor, an application for site plan approval for a planned unit development. Project leads are Ms. Strang and Mr. Laflamme.
Hi, everyone. Chuck Bafundi, owner's rep.
Good evening.
So where we left off last time was, I think we got an overall consensus with the board that the sketch plan was in a good format. We reduced density, played with the layout to create better sight lines, and we kind of left that meeting with an overall outlook on trying to focus in on more of the conceptual layout of the design for utilities, which we illustrated at least a sketch concept of where drainage structures would go, stormwater ponds, water, and the low pressure sewer infrastructure for the force main. We also focused on the recreational components with the feedback that we got from the board members and the planning department, with adding sidewalk infrastructure from Aqueduct Road down through the initial phase of the townhomes, crossing the bike trail and connecting into where the overall clubhouse component would be, which is down near the pond. And then we added a circulation trail around the rest of the core of the development, which goes around essentially the boundary of the property in between the Canal Core property and the bike trail. Yes, right there, highlighted in yellow. And then we also added trail infrastructure down into coming through the old former barge canal down along the river. That trail would largely have to be approved by both the crossings through the Canal Core, which is, we don't think is unfeasible. It's just having that conversation. And then as well as getting concurrence with Army Corps DEC, which is the nearby construction of the trail near the wetlands that are down in that area. think coming out of this meeting, we're just trying to see if these additions and provide good feedback, and looking towards more of an engagement into a conceptual design phase with talking to Clark and Laura to further our process through the PDD and try to engage with a town designated engineer. We also have secured a contract and scoping with a traffic engineer, which we're ready to deploy alongside the rest of the conceptual design phase. And we are about a week away from starting architecture for renderings and engagement with the ARB.
Excellent. Thanks for the update, Mr. Profunde. I agree 100%. The board also had feedback the last meeting that versus the first version. The second version definitely touches on the feedback we got, lower number of units, more diversity, the arrangement's good, the flow's better. There was some comments that we had discussed about the center, the green buildings in the middle where they're kind of in a sea of asphalt,
Yep.
They may be at a disadvantage in terms of their neighbors. Kind of curious if there were a third version, like if you would or have discussed or maybe had discussed and decided not to, any insight that maybe you can share with the board on why they are dense like that, and why there's a density of parking.
Yeah.
And if there could be an improvement, what it might look like.
We do like the current layout because from prior board meetings, this one road that cuts down the center of our 4 and 8 units wasn't there. We had a contiguous development that kind of came down the center of the development and the usable property. We added that road to create more segmentation, neighborhood style, which was a request of the board, but also create a sight line when you first drive in where we have a nice boulevard look with street trees, which was a comment from the Complete Streets Committee, and kind of a view shed down the center of the development. We also think it provided an opportunity to segment the 2 different types of building styles. So we have more of the 4 units, which are a little bit more spread apart, which will appeal to those buyers that may want a little more yard space. But the 8 units are going to also drive obtainability with price points, which, the 8 units are more of a dense living situation, right? You're going to have exterior parking. You're going to have more of a double loaded core on the interior of the building. And that's what we were trying to accomplish there. I personally like the layout. I think it kind of gives 2 different products, which will appeal to different buyers. And it also, the road layouts right now, this is a large project with a future of a condominium corp, which for many that don't understand that the length of that process, it's a lengthy process with the AGO. And we are trying to create some phases within that as well, which this would appeal to for different phases of future construction with how the roads are aligned right now. This isn't something that you just build out all at one time. So.
Yeah, I actually wanted to ask you about that because I was not on the board for the Rivers Ledge development, and it sounds like that's a different process. So this is an owner-driven process, right? So
For sale. Mm-hmm.
So how does that work with the larger units?
Yeah. So let me ask, in what
I'm just kind of
sense? Like
curious. So how that, like you said, moving toward a condominium corp. So what would the building sort of staggered kind of plan look like if it's driven by ownership?
Apartment construction usually comes with putting more units online because there's you're attending to a larger group of people where the stabilization and market absorption is a little quicker. In this case with condominium sales, it's the pre-sale environment and also having a percentage of signed contracts to be able to initiate the overall construction through this whole process with the condominium filing with the AGO. I'm not a lawyer. We have retained people that are very good at this conversation, but essentially we're trying to have multiple phases, and the long-term outlook of this project is probably like a 7 or 8 year build out, right? Just because you're dealing with that marketing to sale and the overall pre-sale contracts that we'd have to deal with. So the initial phase, and I've been talking to Laura and Clark about phasing. Laura, could you scroll down to the? No, it's okay. The first phase would be those first 20 townhomes out along Aqueduct Road. And then as we move in, dependent on market trends, it gives us an opportunity to go left with the 4 units if those seem to be more desirable to the market at that time, or we could go right once we cross the bike trail to more 8 unit, which is more of a big house development. But we've tried to lay this out so it has feasibility and market trends and gives us room to pivot left or right depending on what that market looks like at the time.
And then just the second question, I think you also talked about creating kayak access, but I know that was a little bit challenging. Can you just recap kind of where that is?
Yeah, so over where Laura just highlighted, the challenge is going to be just the grades, right? You can see in the topography there, it's steep. I think Brett did a great job trying to blend everything to, make use of the topography that's there. Aside from that, it just becomes an action of permitting and access with the Canal Corps, which we've done before. Laura and I think, have somewhat of a game plan and strategy on how to go about that. But it's just an outside agency involvement. We don't own the property. The town doesn't own the property. So we just have to figure out what those partnership structures would look like and who takes maintenance and jurisdiction, how they grant us access. But we are illustrating it, and it's something that as we kind of progress through the rest of this, we'll dive into.
Along those lines, was there any consideration, or could there be some consideration to provide slips as an amenity for ownership? What a unique opportunity, right? To do that along the river. I think the depth is there, but curious what your thoughts are on that.
So I've done dock permitting before. I've done it in a sense where you've had nothing, and then in an existing OGS recreational permit. It's a very demanding permitting action just because of the environmental considerations that are taken into account. Most commercial dock slips, like I think you're talking about, are really hard to obtain now just because of it involves pile driving and different things like that, which this development with the future of an HOA or something, we're not talking about the liability being distributed to like one apartment developer. In this case, it's going to be an HOA. I like the light impact idea of kayak, right? Because it can just be a little floating dock. It doesn't have any impact to the bottom of the riverbed. Gets pulled in and out every year, and it's less of a liability for the future of the HOA. So I think that's the best recreational component, in my opinion. We would stick away from more of a commercial dock slip.
Commercial meaning
like pontoon boats
for temporary use.
boats.
So, yeah,
There's
thinking,
a marina across the bridge,
Yeah,
and we, if anything, I think residents, especially with the connectivity that the roundabout and Rexford Bridge have, it's an easy enough stroll down to that marina for them to gain access.
Fair. I'll just continue to advocate. Like, just to clarify, that the commercial is not what I was requesting. It's more for the residents to, based on first come, first serve, have a permitted use, right? They pay extra for it, but just for the residents.
Yeah.
Not
And
for rental of others.
And in that sense, it would be for real boats or kayaks, or
Real boats. You would obviously have your limitations, length, what have you, but exploring it's great. I know that your familiarity with an adjacent property, right, with River's Ledge, it looked like there was always an attempt to continue to provide additional amenities to make it more appealing. So now's the time to bring it up. I know that there's always obstacles.
Yep.
And there's probably financial obstacles, but what a great use of that area. And certainly the kayak would be fantastic, but.
Yeah. And I think for the kayak, I will ask the rest of the group about more of a motorboat style dock system.
Short fish boat, right?
Yep.
Nothing major. Yep.
But on the kayak end, I think it's, we could do like your typical kayak storage down there for residents that would have, want to keep their kayak down by the river. to that point, Brett and I had the concern of the steepness of getting your kayak down there. So at least you'd only have to do it once a year. You could put some racks in down there. But yeah, we will definitely look into it, and I'll ask him, Chris.
Consistent also with with Rivers Ledge was lessons learned. You know, we don't have an elevation. We're not at that point yet, but trying to mix up the variety of the look, the architecture, which was very well done, you know, with that project, which you were directly involved in. Less white, no white, you know, not all fieldstone on the townhouses, but mixed would be something we'd like to see.
Yep.
Just wanted to reiterate that. It was discussed prior meetings, but that's an
And
important element to this.
And it's been discussed at length with the planning department as well. So we've already talked to the ownership group who are in for that, having a variation of building style, just like next door. So we'll try to carry that look through the corridor. Absolutely.
I just want to ask a question, maybe for clarification, but, and I'm not picking on Rivers Ledge or overemphasizing it. It's a great project. But the orientation and the dense, like all of the 4 units are all together. There is a little bit of diversity there, which I think you explained well in terms of giving you options as you construct. But was there any consideration of putting the 8 units mixed in with the 4 units? Is there a drawback that we should know as a board to doing that?
I think to what you had just stated of where your concerns lie, right? Like, I think separating the different unit types keeps the cohesiveness of the neighborhood that people may be attracted to. So the 4 units, you know, they want that more open yard space, a little bit more of a spacing. Keeping those larger buildings out of that area of the development, I think, would just keep cohesive look on that side. And then to the right-hand side, there's, you know, more of that dense environment where folks are okay with. Some people like that double loaded core building, which I can tell you from big house developments on apartment communities, they're rented all the time, right? So I think we'd have the same type of reaction from the condo buyers as well.
Thank you. All right, good.
I'll add to one other thing I forgot to bring up. So we are continuing to advance conversations with National Grid. The fire access road was a huge component in this. And we have the Parks and Rec crossing for the bike trail completely prepared. So we'll be making a submission to Lauren Clark on that, which will be pretty well buttoned up just to submit to Parks and start that conversation.
I may have missed what you just said. Where's the location on this that would be recreational? Was it the bottom? Was it the space?
So our
in the lane?
recreational spaces are right as you pull into the development across the bike trail, you take a right-hand turn, and we have near the 8-unit buildings, the clubhouse component, which is right there. We have some access to like a little Tykes play area, which was a request from the board. The main connectivity through the sidewalk infrastructure all funnels through there. And we thought that pond, especially with our favorable DEC and Army Corps decisions, was a great thing to provide access to with the community. We've largely kept a lot of the construction out of the 25-foot buffer that the town has. So I think we did a good job with the layout and some of the constraints that we had. And then the other recreational components really wrap the property. That trail continues throughout the property along the outside edge and the usable boundary. And then we cross the canal core down to the kayak launch. And like I said, it was at the request of the board and the planning department. We're trying to make use of the parkland area. But I will add that we have to look into the feasibility of that with the regulatory agencies. It may be outside of our control. Maybe it's something that's, you know, stone dust, mulch, something less of an impact during construction that they'll be more amendable to, but that's still a hurdle that we'd have to look into at your folks' request.
So I just want to build on that. So with the kayak access, someone could drive in that's not living there and park where? I just want to make sure I understand it.
So we created a parking lot off to the left right there.
Got it. Okay.
And that's something that is unique. We'll have to figure that out with our attorneys on how the HOA is established with like that access. but I don't think it's insurmountable.
In terms of what concern?
Just public access through an HOA.
Mhm.
Yeah. We'll have to figure that out.
So I'll chime in on a couple things. So I think generally I like the direction that we're headed here. The less dense use of this plan as it's evolved, I think has got some merits to it. The clubhouse, you know, as you guys work your way through site plan like you did on the previous project, taking a look at what that might finally become, whether it's larger, it's definitely got some space that could work and fit in there. Those are good amenities, you know, where it's located. Right as you come in, the walking trails, the pond, you know, it seems to be a really good fit. You know, we'll encourage that to be, you know, developed. I do agree with Mr. Laflamme. The 3 units that are clustered, the 8 units in the middle, really are just a tight area that has a lot of asphalt around it. And I know the previous plan eliminated that central road that went through, but the other component of that is that those 3 8 units, those backyards are relatively close to each other. And then there's a walking path that cuts through. Those have almost no backyards. And maybe there's people that don't want that, but as we watch a development go in and as it begins to evolve on its own after the developer is sold off and people maintain them, the fences pop up, the barbecues come out, the chairs come out, you know, people kind of start staking their claim.
Yeah.
And not that I think we're going to see like utility sheds and all that stuff littered all over the place, but just that core right there, if there's a way that could just take another pass at looking at that, I think it would be fine if you tried to keep the same number of units and maybe reposition them to get some diversity because of the 4 types or the 3 types of building that you have. The ones in the front, if you're going to do a row of townhomes, that's fine. It's a row of townhomes. But then when you're going to take the 4 units and the 8 units, and if you go to the color coded map, that's a good one to see. You know, basically mixing the green with the orange.
Yep.
How would you go about doing that? And if there's a way to do that and maybe give everybody a little more of a, you know, section in the backyard area. And I don't know what that purpose is of those little connecting sidewalks that connect the back through there. If people really want to cut through there, just seems like.
Yeah, it creates a little bit of a courtyard feel, but let me ask this. Would you folks be okay if I think overall here that with the way the roads are right now, it's a blank canvas essentially inside all 4 sides of the road. And I feel like it's something that even with the infrastructure coming into concept design, water and sewer is largely going to be uninterrupted with any of these changes within this little 4-sided area. I think it would be great to dive into the architecture of those buildings outside of just looking at the shapes as they are right now. Maybe the architectural outlook will provide some type of opportunity. You know, we're in sketch, right? We haven't involved an architect. We want to engage one. That back side of the project, depending on the scope of our architecture later on with who we select, may take a different course of these building styles as they're illustrated with Brett right now altogether, right? I don't know where the garages will lay out. I don't know exactly where the parking lots will be and the entrances. So I think our biggest goal right now is trying to break into the conceptual design. There's a lot of effort in concept design into preliminary, not only with outside agency permitting, but trying to just deal with all the coordination of that alongside architecture. I guess my concern is I don't want to get so stuck on the sketch right now with the buildings without knowing what the buildings are. Does that make sense? I just think it would be great to involve an architect into those conversations. Maybe they can put a different twist on that block. If you folks are amenable to that.
Yeah, I think I agree with Chairman. If there were a way to realign a couple of things, there are a couple oranges that have that dead end street and they're capped. One end can see the water, the other side can't. This is a wonderful addition, modification to the first, and it hits all the parts. And I agree, it's a move in the right direction for sure. But as we contemplate the longevity of it, that is I see upside to this design in that one of the goals of this project is to provide diverse income targets, different marketability price points. Having a little more density might assure a little more affordability. But at the same time, this is our layout opportunity. And I don't know if architecture is going to change the parking density and the looking
It's
through the
more of
window.
access.
It might
Yeah.
look, it might change the looking through the window, or maybe trees will actually prevent that. So I want to make sure we enforce that. We really like this direction. The total unit count without sacrificing too much in footprint. But that one area is just like, seems
I
a little
understand.
dense. Yeah.
We can't tell you how to solve that riddle, but you could do a reconfiguration that would keep those 4 units in that area.
Mhm.
And it might look better.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I guess I'm not arguing the fact that we'll focus on that and
Mhm.
come to something that the board over a majority loves, right? I guess my thing too is outside of that area, I think the roads are largely agreeable, right? What I was looking at is we had a meeting and Lauren Clark, I forget the actual terms, but the rest of this PDD process, there's some type of milestone, a sketch plan approval, and then coming into that was something to do with zoning. What was it?
Yeah, the planning board has to make a recommendation to the town board on tentative
Right.
PUD approval.
And that's that milestone's after sketch plan approval.
Yeah, they don't, I'll double check, but I actually don't think there is a true sketch plan approval on this. I think your next formal step, I think, is for the board to make a recommendation to the town board on the tentative zoning approvals.
And with what we need to prepare for tentative zoning approval, that obviously would come into, a little bit of the look and feel here. We'll play with that center block, but do we need concept design done with TDE involvement for that? No. So after we get tentative zoning approval with that recommendation to town board, we come back and then go into conceptual design, preliminary design.
Mhm.
Okay.
Preliminary design.
Yeah.
I mean, one thing that I note too, which I'm sure you're aware, is a lot of these buildings are literally like touching the 25-foot buffer. So that's a constructability issue because they'll have to be grading around the buildings and you're not allowed to grade into the buffer.
Mhm.
So there's definitely things, I think, when you get into the actual engineering and grading that will have to change.
Around the pond.
There's actually a number,
buffer?
if you actually look, a number of the buildings are actually right up against that 25-foot buffer.
Buffer around the water.
Yeah. No, the the buffer around the wetland. So
And let me ask you, I guess from a consensus of like the deliverables needed to go to tentative zoning approval is the only comment I have leaving today that rework this 8-unit area. I'm just trying to make sure we're efficiently trying to address everything that the board has as a concern to meet the next milestone is all.
well, I also heard, see if you can beef up the kayak launch, right? I mean, even if you can't necessarily get true boat slips, like you said, there's an area over here. I mean, River's Ledge set the bar really high, right? They have a lot of public improvement and a lot of views to the river.
Yeah.
Like even this area here, I mean, it's probably not, it doesn't look like it's super flat, but maybe you could create like kayak racks and a bench or something down there. I mean, I think that as far as public improvements go, the trail is really good, but there probably is still some room because when we did conceptual planning, recommendations with River's Ledge, they had outlined a lot of public improvements, and that was one of the negotiations the town board did with them on their trunk fees.
Mhm.
They were like, okay, we'll reduce your trunk fees because you are building, putting $100,000 into Aqueduct Park and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'll just bring up a difference just because I was involved in that project. If you look at this is a great map. area of land that was next door was already improved as a park. There was grass trails. It had no wetlands. It had predominantly flat topo, right? If you look, I mean, I'd recommend any board member that wants to take a walk down there. I'd be more than happy to give you folks a tour. I mean, since 2025's DEC wetland regs, there's things that you just, you know, are now unachievable, right? If you look at the wetlands coursing through that area, it's largely undevelopable, right? So if there's an outlook of thinking that we can construct this beautified park down there, it's just unobtainable. I think, if anything, Brett brought up a good point at one point of like, what does parkland mean, right? And does it have to be this modernized mode park, or can it just be foot trails and connectivity to nature? And I think that's what we can achieve here. I'm not arguing that we'll look into what we can do to expand upon the kayak launch area or look into motorized boat docking. But I think to that point, it's not largely that kind of park, right? The grade and topo and wetlands and a lot of those things are just negatively affects the potential, is all.
I would agree with that statement. I don't think we're asking for that. Like,
Okay.
I think these natural unasphalted, not multi-use path, but just walking path,
Mhm.
nature that people could transit, you know, that's great. But the water feature is unique to the property.
Yep.
Yeah. And the ability to come and visit someone who's living there and have a place that's safe to put your boat temporarily,
It'd be great.
right? I mean, it's just kind of thinking ahead a little bit there. But no, I like the natural, everything you described would be perfect.
Okay.
A couple of things. I do think this is an improvement over the original.
Mhm.
I happen to like having similar buildings in the same area. I think interspersing the different types of units would probably be a negative because they're going to attract different types of people.
Absolutely.
That's psychology 101. And we started to talk about process. At what point would we do the traffic study? Well, the applicant get to do it.
I can double check when we got the traffic study for Rivers Ledge, if it was before or after the 10. We did a fair amount of work on Rivers Ledge before it went to the town board. But but it wasn't engineering. It wasn't the
And-
grading and the where the water line goes and the sewer line. It was really like how the building's going to lay out, what's the public park land's going to be, what are those connections, that kind of thing. We
I
looked at.
don't think it took additional units from this site into account.
The traffic study at Rivers Ledge did not. No.
Can I ask, what is the overall goal of a tentative zoning approval? I'm just trying to understand that. So like, I guess my point is conceptual design effort and like a design build like this, I think everybody's touched on things that can change later on. Grading, Laura, you did. The overall infrastructure and parking sequence, depending on the architectural design, can change slightly. I guess that's where I'm asking the question is, do we have enough right now to get tentative zoning approval? Because what does it really mean? Is it
Yeah,
just
no,
a
that's-
milestone?
It's a really good question. Tentative zoning approval is when the town board and the planning board's giving the recommendation to the town board really weighs a planned unit development is essentially setting its own zoning. That's why those buildings can be closer to the road than if you were on Hillside Ave. That's why, you can have a different density of units. You're getting a benefit from the planned unit development. And the question is that it's almost like a zoning board question, but it's a town board question. Same with the special use permit. Is that benefit balanced with the public benefit to allowing that zone, to allowing that density, to letting those buildings be closer to the road, to allowing it to be built, kind of within its own zoning. And so I think that the things that really have to be outlaid are not necessarily the exact locations of the buildings or what they look like. But, in my mind, if I go through what the Rivers Ledge resolution says, it really outlined, how this project, Rivers Ledge had a lot of utility issues. So although the designs of the water line and the sewer line weren't done, they had to outline exactly how they were going to make the city of Schenectady allow for their connection. That was a
Mhm.
huge thing with Rivers Ledge. So,
Which
I
is
mean, it
not here.
outlined utilities at the beginning. It outlined them doing a, an actual whole, like, gravity system that went all the way over to Aqueduct Road. That was all outlined in the beginning in the tentative zoning approval. It outlined the park improvements. It outlined the number of units. The actual location, especially of the senior center, changed drastically from the tentative zoning approval. But it really did have a layout of what they were trying to achieve from the PUD versus what the town was requiring them of the PUD. Like things I think that could still be worked on a little are connections of this path to Rivers Ledge. Like that should actually connect into the pass at Rivers Ledge. And like, I think it's here, but like, making sure that from the bike path that you can figure out if you were on the bike path, because right now Rivers Ledge has parking lots for the bike path and it has multi-use paths that bring you down to the river. How are you going to come from this multi-use path? And is there something nice to invite you down? And, are you as the public going to be allowed on that trail along the pond? How do you get the public down to the trail for the kayak launch? Those kind of things. Just saying.
Yeah, so I think the only thing out of those things that you just said that we aren't illustrating is the connectivity to Rivers Ledge with trails, correct? Because we're showing it down to the kayak launch, the loop to the parklands and everything else. So I'll give you the background on what we can do to Rivers Ledge. Private party to private party, this development group has a legal agreement with the neighboring development group for the fire access and probably could create a trail connection next to it, right? That was done a few years ago at one time with a financial arrangement. Outside of that, we're deep through title research, we're allowed a crossing under National Grid, which I think if we kept the trail next to the emergency access, that would be allowable. I mean, so I guess that limits it to where the fire access is laid out right now, which is private to private agreement and something that would have feasibility with National Grid. Would that be amendable?
Yeah, so and actually Rivers Ledge has a public multi-use path that goes right along the National Grid property and may accidentally have gone on to the National Grid property. So it's not really private to private because it needs to connect into the public multi-use path on Rivers Ledge.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'd just like to say, something I'm very passionate about. Do you know where Fieldstone Estates are on Consall Road?
Yeah.
I'm going to beg you, please not to do that.
Okay.
And because that's something I absolutely wouldn't support. Please don't make them look like cookie cutters. I know that you said you were already kind of sort of, discussing that.
Do you not like the design of that building, or would you just like to see a variation in color of the building? Because I will admit that we are looking at buying the Fieldstone drawings for the front 20 units, but we have talked with Laura and Clark and they brought that up. They do not want a consistency in color. We were going to do a variation of color so it more appropriately relates to the building next door with Louisi's Senior Complex. And obviously we know that some changes will be made to the drawings that we're buying through ARB. We could, yeah.
Like material.
At the
like
exterior.
material?
Right.
Yeah, yep.
Right. Okay.
It's like the structural and layout. It was a very good product that the market reacted well to. So yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Yes.
But Rivers Ledge doesn't have the same orientation along the street like Fieldstone Estates does. Like that kind of gets back to Dave's comment where you might be able to massage these buildings a little, but no, I don't think you need to have the exact building locations ready for recommendation for tentative zoning approval.
Yeah, because it's a natural process. They're going to be,
When
you're
you're
going to get through
doing
engineering, you're
yeah,
going to have
exactly.
to tweak something, move
Setbacks.
something. But, where you position most of the buildings, I think is good. Real quickly, we've touched on this before. That little sliver to the right of the townhomes, it's nested against the property line, and there's a single family home that's existing there.
Yes.
It was the fast food lot. It was misleading.
Yeah, one time it was
What-
Dunkin'.
What are you gonna do with that area? That's part of your parcel, correct?
It is, and we're
Yeah.
just leaving it largely undeveloped. You know,
So
we've
that's-
contacted the homeowner that lives
Mhm.
adjacent. And he has no interest in selling. We screened that lot out of respect with some of the landscape you can see that Brett provided. I mean,
Okay.
maybe someday he does put it on the market and it becomes an expansion of the townhome component of this.
Okay.
But right now, we're just largely leaving it undeveloped.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And no future plan to subdevelop or parcel off that one lot?
No.
Okay.
It still actually says fast food, so we should still fix that.
That was gonna
Yeah,
be
there's no
the
fast
food
food
truck
planning.
landing, right?
Yeah,
People would
no
come by
fast
on
food plan.
the thing. Okay. Well, all right. So I think to kind of summarize that, you got some takeaway points here. Take a look at the diversity of the homes, the connectivity to the waterfront, obviously, working on some of those agreements with state agencies. And then if you want to take a look at that, see where some of the feedback is on that central, called the internal loop road there, where the 8-unit townhomes are,
Mhm.
then I think we can definitely keep moving forward.
Okay. And outside of that, so those are the main items to try to move towards a tentative zoning recommendation.
For the recommendation.
And you'll look into so it sounds like traffic and those things are after
I'll
that.
double, I can't remember off the top of my head on that. It may have just been written into the preliminary engineering report.
Yep.
So I'll check.
The reason I just don't want to get so far, like a couple meetings go by and all of a sudden I need it. And it is something that takes 2 months to gather with data collection and everything. So
I'll check on it.
Can
Yeah,
I
we'll check.
ask one question? The sidewalks, the highlighted yellow, it says sidewalks and walking path. Is there any way to delineate what is private and what is public? 'Cause I'm assuming the sidewalks are gonna be for the residents, but it's all yellow. So if I'm walking on the path, I wouldn't assume that I should be walking in between in the area of the green
Mhm.
buildings, like that would be private.
Yes.
Sidewalk.
we could illustrate what we would look at as private and public. Like most developers, we may have things that we overall have an outlook for that are written legally in the HOA documents and stuff, but I think everybody usually finds their way once they get in there. But I will illustrate something for the board on what our long-term direction is.
And then I just have one question, and sorry if you already said it. The 8 units, are they multi-level? Or
Yes, that'd be 2-story.
Okay.
And when I say double loaded core, it's usually something with like common core hallways, right? Our 4 units may be a different architectural design than that.
So that green space doesn't belong to anybody really? Is it going to be shared? It's just.
That's
gonna be
correct. So
shared
the condominium corp will really just be the building, and everybody will own their condo within the building, but the lands are largely owned under the legal mechanism through the HOA. Can
And I-
provide an idea of a write-up for the board to understand that. I'm by no means a specialist in this, but we have one of the leading firms in our Albany area working with us on it. We could give you an overview of what that looks like.
Yeah, because when I envision it, I'm just meaning like no one can really just like stake, like if it's like sometimes if it's single, you can kind of say like, oh, this is in front of my sliding door and this is
Yeah.
mine. But really with this setup, it looks like a communal space.
It is a communal space, and that goes to the point of within the HOA laws and everything, there won't be opportunity for fences and sheds and
Okay.
cookers. There'll be really strict community rules.
Mhm.
So you won't, that I don't have that shared concern of people just having like this mess of everybody's outdoor accessories in the backyard. It's going to be really, the HOA is going to drive the policing of that.
So I would also agree that I think having that similar lifestyle, like you may have someone that doesn't have kids and it just kind of wants that like maintained and I use it for the day. Whereas some of the 4 units may have, more delineated use or may want it to look a certain way. So I think I lean towards having it separate.
Yep. Yeah, 2 different product types.
Normally townhomes though actually own their yards.
That's what the front 20 units will be. So that's the only change. So it's HOA in the front. Townhomes own their own yards,
So
which are up in the front of the development.
normally when you do that, you would be creating parcels like for subdividing.
That's correct.
parcels. Yeah.
So these front 20, the first phase will actually be parceled units. And I talked about that at one time when we came back because the reduction in density was just trying to play with what made the rest of the development still economically feasible. So we went to for sale, townhomes in the front. The rest of it is an HOA with an overlying condominium corp in the back. Well, then once you cross the bike trail.
I think it's important for the overall PUD though, to kind of look at what those lots, like what the width could be, you know, just for comparison to other townhomes.
Mhm.
I think that would be an important thing to add.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you would like that just like illustrated in some type of segmented table, like lot one
Yeah, I
through.
think you need to, because it is, we like townhomes, but we do run into a lot of problems with our zoning, which obviously there's the benefit of the PUD to help with that. But it is a whole nother thing to be creating the individual parcels. So I think we should see what that looks like now.
Okay.
Chuck, just the other thing that Laura and I commented on when we kind of looked at this from the planning department's perspective, and I know we're in the early stages, but there was no place for any residents to gather and kind of just sit and look out at the river. River's Ledge has several pavilions where they could have a cookout or take advantage of the proximity to the river. So maybe something like that can be worked in as it progresses.
Yeah, we could look at something in that overall area down by the kayak launch. And we're trying to make use of our pond. But an overall scenic vantage point from the upper topography of the development out to the river is largely going to be obstructed by forested wetlands. Like, I'd love to create waterfront views, but we're not cutting down trees in there.
Which the tree council will like.
Yeah.
Great. Okay.
Just for the record, Complete Streets and Tree Council have been looking at this and they just want to make sure it's okay for them to walk the property.
Absolutely. And if they want to meet me at any, we could set up a meeting and I can do those walkthroughs.
I'll tell them.
Yep.
Great. All right, well,
Thank
thank
you,
you
everyone.
for your time, and we'll look forward to the next update.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. All right. Next up is 2837 Aqueduct Road, Rivers Ledge, an application for signs at Rivers Ledge.
Hi, everybody. My name is Christian Luisi. I'm here on behalf of Rivers Ledge, and we're proposing some new signage at the entrances of the project.
All right, so if you want to go ahead and walk us through the two types of signage.
Sure. One signage is for the main Rivers Ledge project that we want to put at each entrance. Rivers Ledge, it would be lighted up at night. Future residents have a great day, drive safe. Again, we want to put these or have these at each entrance. Real Azare, we would want to put a little further down, driving into the senior building. Again, welcome. Real Azare, we would light it up, put some stone flowers, make it look real nice.
Aren't those the vertical signs? Didn't you build them already?
Correct. That is correct.
Okay.
All right, so part of the purveyance of planned unit development is that the planning board is allowed to review these signage, correct, Laura?
Mhm.
So there's a table that was in the package. Just to quickly recap that, where the proposed signage is going. Doesn't trigger any type of zoning review or referral there. So let's talk about call them the like the marquee bollards here that
Sure.
are there. What's the total height on those?
I don't know, but I'm sure.
It was
16, total height
16,
16 feet,
right.
4 inches.
So it's definitely something larger than we normally see on just typical signage around the area here. What was the design parameters behind that?
I wasn't involved in the design.
Okay.
I actually didn't even know they were going up until I drove by and I seen them myself. So I
Yes.
correct. Yes, ma'am. No, that's okay. I wasn't behind the design of them. I think that the height of it was coming down on the River's Ledge sign. We didn't want to go vertical or horizontal just because of the location of where they were. They might have protruded into each drive lane there.
Sorry, can you just speak? I know you said you didn't know they were going in. So they were pre-designed and you didn't realize they were being fabricated and
I didn't myself. I don't, I wasn't involved in that process with the signage, with the company putting them in. So I just wasn't involved in that process at the time, truthfully.
Yeah, I would say normally the sign companies would give them direction to come. I don't know what this sign company is. No, we know Action Signs. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And they didn't reach out, Laura?
No. I do think on a fast road, there's some advantage to a vertical sign with those tight entrances, but it is taller than almost any sign we have in town, I think, probably.
I think you're right.
Laura,
But I
does
mean,
it-
it's also not, I mean, we do have for apartments, we do have 16-foot wide, like sitting on the ground
Yeah.
signs. This is just this way instead of that way.
with it being a PUD, are there any unique exceptions made?
No,
for
yes.
some-
I mean, it's something like almost a lesson learned, I think, for the next one is we really didn't discuss signage during the site plan of Rivers Ledge. It didn't make it. But yeah, I mean, because essentially a plan unit development sets its own zoning. Like
Right.
the planning board can definitely review these. And if they do feel like it's appropriate, like David said, they don't need to go to the zoning board or the town board. It's part of the site plan.
I mean, obviously, my perspective, certainly, we were as surprised as you were, right? But I don't disagree. I think the height is an exception, but because of the roadway and the space, I don't know if I would have opposed it, if it were part of the original plan.
I just think normally we'd see a 16-foot sign sitting that way. This is a 16-foot, I mean, 16 feet sign is not abnormal for this size complex. It's just normally sitting horizontally, not going straight up. Yeah, our normal height limit's 8 feet for normal. Yeah, so this is 16. Yeah.
And my concern is that it's going to be leaving motorists looking up away from the road and the traffic and pedestrians and all of that.
You don't have to.
Honestly, Ms. Gold, have you driven by, just out of curiosity, have you driven by this to look? Because the looking up thing is something we've brought up before with buildings in the foreground and such. This just makes it easy to understand where to go. You see it, it's clear. If it were long and narrow on the low to the ground, it would probably be harder to see. So I'm not trying to sound like an advocate for the fact that it's there, but the scale of the project, the multiple entrances, as surprised as I was when I saw them, and I was one of the first to see them, I thought they fit. That was just how it landed with me.
The concern I have though is there's nothing tying this 16-foot sign to the uniqueness of the speed you're driving, the overall square footage and size of the project, right? So am I right? So in other words, if somebody on Upper Union Street or Balltown Road comes along and says, well, they put a 16-foot tower sign.
Or could it be tied? Because it
That's
is
what
a
I'm
PUD.
asking. It's already up.
Well, it is tied because in any other, so Clark and I put the two closest things in our zoning code to give you a sense of if it was in a regular zoning district, what would the signs be? The two closest things we could find would be like subdivision signs. And then, what was the other one we were using, Clark? We used two. Yeah, so, Yeah, neighborhood signs and then maybe like multifamily, I think we also looked at. Oh no, yeah, neighborhood, okay. But another one we could look at would be like multifamily because it is kind of like an apartment complex, but I actually think they're pretty similar altogether. We could pull multifamily for you guys to look at. But this wouldn't be allowed in any other zoning code. The only reason that we could even consider it is because it is tied to the plan unit development and the scale
Okay.
of the project.
That was my question. And then you said the back of the sign, drive safe, have a great day, residents, future residents. That's going to be internally lit?
Correct.
And in the morning or as people are leaving or all what is the time frame on
I
that?
think it's when the sun rises and when the sun goes down is when it turns on and off.
Can I ask a clarifying question?
Sure.
So the message to those exiting will be lit. Will the River's Ledge white
Yep.
also be lit?
Yes.
Got
Just
it,
when the
Doug.
sun goes down, and it'll turn off when the sun comes up. I'm sorry? Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, we do normally have timers and require them to go off at night.
Okay. Yeah, I'm sure we're not opposed to that. It's not out of the ordinary bright. I don't know if you've seen it at night. It looks pretty sharp. I can tell you that driving past Real Azare, those lights on the building are much, much brighter than what's on that sign.
I would say, so I drive early in the morning when it's still dark, and I've driven over there in the evening. I think it does need to be lit just because of how you're coming around. It does give you an opportunity to at least see where it is. And I didn't feel like it was distracting or it was like the light was offensive. So
Yeah, I agree. I live right there. I actually wasn't sure that they were on at night.
yeah,
but
it wasn't.
I think you can just read the letters.
Yeah.
Yeah. But we do usually require timers too.
But I just want to clarify, the River's Ledge is lit so that people can see it when it gets dark.
The letters.
But the drive safe and have a great day is the opposite
No, that's lit as well.
at night.
Correct.
That faces inside.
No, I get it.
Yeah.
I get it. I'm just questioning. Okay.
You'll probably be surprised, but I don't have a problem with the lighting. Because of that
Safety.
area,
Yeah.
I think it's really helpful. It helps people know for sure where they are. I have not seen it at night, so that might be open to a little revision, but generally, I think it's helpful to have lighting on it.
One of the drawbacks of it already being in place is I concur. I've driven by it. It was subtle, gave me an awareness, but it wasn't like this bright thing that was sticking out.
I'll be honest, like I think the height it does fit the property, but I also think maybe it didn't need to hit 16 feet, but I do feel like the size is it does give some awareness. And the large scale of the property, it kind of fits.
And then the monument style sign that you're proposing is in addition to this
Correct.
And has not been built yet.
and also facing Aqueduct?
That's for the next phase.
Okay,
No,
that's
it would
fine.
not be facing Aqueduct.
That's internal.
Yes.
Where would that? where
Yeah.
would that be?
So that's gonna be facing the entrance going into Real Azare. So you'll take a right or a left into the property, and then when you take a right into Real Azare is where the sign would be.
So one of the unique situations with this is that what we can do is we could have a project lead get assigned to this and then encourage everybody to go by during the day and at night. We've done that with other signage around town for some of the things and get some feedback on it. If not everyone's had a chance to take a look at it, that would be pretty helpful in order for us to render a decision. Obviously, you're coming here to a little bit of begging for forgiveness, whatever, but the uniqueness of the PUD too also, I think, may help this case as opposed to, a direct order. and a violation to have you take it down. So, we want to work with applicants as they come here. So I think in fairness to not only the board here and the applicant, we'll have somebody sign to it, take a look at it, get that feedback. And between now and the next meeting, all of us take a look at it, and so we can collectively go back and give some positive feedback. The temporary, we'll call them like flags that you put out there, how often do those stay out?
For the open houses, typically we like to put them up once a month for the
Mhm.
open houses, which they'll come down once we're fully leased at the senior building. As far as now leasing, we're looking into doing something a little bit more permanent, which will certainly come to you before we do anything like that. So hopefully we can do something a little bit nicer, a little bit more permanent
Yeah.
that is acceptable.
We document trends in town, whether it's lighting or signage or things like that. And very large, feather type,
Yeah.
what would you call them?
We
Banners.
enforce those
Yeah,
occasionally.
I mean, you get an open house on a Sunday on a regular real estate sign, and they have like 2 or 3 of those popped up, like they're getting ready to practice for the Niska Day parade.
Yeah.
So I think just in the collective design of what Rivers Ledge became, and looking at what you're trying to achieve here, if we could find a way, if you're going to have some type of leasing sign that you want to do, or whatever your final signage package is going to be along the front of that corridor,
Yep.
maybe this is your opportunity to take a look at that whole as a collective, and then bring that back to us, and then maybe we could take a look at that after the next meeting or so, and
Yeah,
try to get some
I
clear
agree.
direction.
That it's a temporary thing. I'm sure you're all aware we kind of go above and beyond with anything we do at the project. So that's going to be a temporary thing, and we'd like to put something a little bit more permanent, a little bit nicer there.
Do you think you could put flags, small flags, not like signing flags, of where this monument sign would go? So the board can, if we're doing a drive-by, we
Yeah.
can kind of see where that would go.
Certainly.
Maybe just like utility flags in the 4 corners or something, just so
Yeah.
they could get a sense. It's hard to really tell on the plan because it doesn't show the entrance to the senior center building.
All right. Any other questions?
Are there any other signs that have been discussed?
Outside of the now leasing, which was just preliminary brought up in a management meeting, no other sides at this time.
Right. You don't have wayfinding signage inside, do you?
We don't.
Yeah.
We don't.
Do the delivery people ever get lost?
They don't.
Oh, okay.
Addresses.
Google GPSing.
Fortunately, I know it's been a little tricky. They're still finding their way with the senior building because there's 2 separate package centers. So, but they'll figure it out in time.
Just, this is not the first Relisari project, is that correct? Are there others?
No, this would be
This
only
is the first one? Okay.
So that Realizar actually means relax in Italian.
I looked it up. Thanks. Because I wasn't sure, but I wasn't sure if it was a branded thing that you were doing elsewhere.
No, this is the first one.
Oh,
Although a lot of your developments do have unique lighting aspects across the couple districts. So
We try to incorporate unique, different, creative aspects to these developments. Try to make them stand out a little bit.
well, we do get complaints that there's too much lighting at Rivers Ledge, so it's a lesson learned. I think next time we would definitely want to keep the lights lower on the building.
Who's complaining?
complaints from over the river?
Yeah,
Across the-
we get
still?
complaints from Alpla's a lot on the lighting of Rivers Ledge. The tenant change for the
Commercial.
yes. Where's that stand?
We're gonna do the ice cream ourselves. We're gonna do one of the commercial spaces, and we also have, so the same person that does Buds on the Hudson at Starbuck Island, he's gonna do the diner there as well. We're working through a lease with them. Hopefully, within the first quarter of next year, we'll be able to get that up and running.
Okay, you do have to come back to the board for that too.
Correct.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And I don't think you necessarily need the lease signed for that if you want to get a jump on it.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
All right,
Thank you so much.
Okay, next up is 2310 Knott Street East, an application for a tenant change to a nail spa. Do we have a representative from the applicant online or here?
This one was
Nail salon?
I
Are
think
you with?
she's Council Road.
she's council.
Your Council Road, correct? Okay, so hold on 1 second.
Yeah,
so-
they verbally withdrew after
Okay.
the site meeting. I haven't gotten it in writing yet, so we left it on the agenda. But that building, as I put in the agenda statement, is a professional office building, and I just like to set expectations and be honest with people. Like, they could certainly apply for a special use permit, but with retail and service across the street and vacancies in retail and service across the street, I, as a planner, would not recommend allowing retail and service in a professional office use building.
Okay.
I set that expectation for them. They did not realize that was a longer process, and they've decided to withdraw.
And even if there weren't suitable vacant space nearby, I would still be very reluctant to allow basically a retail use in a professional office building.
Yeah, it was, and also like I did the site visit with them just to get, because, you know, even just on the site plan, it's just really confusing, like how you would even enter that store as far as retail goes.
That's the former Chaffee Law Firm
Correct.
space.
Yeah, the dentist job in dentistry, and it's actually really not very conducive to a retail service location at all. So
Okay. All right. So thanks for the update.
Mhm.
Okay, next up is 3333 Council Road, an application for a tenant change to Lexi Nail and Spa. I have a representative here as the applicant. Just state your name.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Pin Lin.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So this is a tenant change, and the project is located, it's in the Hannaford Plaza?
Yeah.
Correct? Okay. All right. And Laura, can you zoom in on where the location is?
it's over here,
Yeah, right in there. Okay,
right in here.
good. Okay. Let's get queued up here. All right. So what is the extent of the renovation inside? Do you have to change any wall layouts, anything like that? I know there was
No.
a pretty basic sketch plan that was included.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's just a very straightforward fit out?
Yeah, it was actually previously a nail salon.
Okay.
Two owners of nail salons. This would be the third one.
So almost turnkey. And I think the other takeaway from that was just to look at maybe some plantings around the area. That's always something that they look at with the tenant. But I mean, pretty straightforward, just a tenant change.
Yes.
Okay.
And I just follow up. This one is got a normal entrance with windows, and it's all open floor plan. It's been previously approved. You can actually, I think those chairs are still there, actually, even if you go there. So you can actually see what it looks like.
Was it not currently open?
I don't think so.
It is open.
Oh, it is open?
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
the windows will not be papered over. The windows will not be papered over.
You can see right through the windows. It's clear. The windows are clear.
I think they have some kind of picture on the window.
Well, we can look.
Yeah.
You can't really see the windows in this. I don't know. You can see some of them though. It looks like they're mostly open.
I think you can see through from inside, but the outside you can just see the pictures. Yeah.
Okay. How about signage? Any type of signage change, or that'll be separate?
Yeah, we should change the name of the
Okay.
sign.
Okay. If it's something that's code compliant, I believe that the planning department would just take a look at it. If it's something that's excessive in size, you would come back to see us again. If the sign is
It's
large.
the same size.
Same size?
Same
Okay.
size, yeah, same color.
Is the current sign is compliant then, right?
Yeah, I believe it is.
Okay.
Clerk and I can double check.
Okay, all right. So if it's pretty straightforward, then we'll get a tentative resolution for the next meeting for the tenant change.
Okay, thank
All right.
you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, next up is 3900 State Street, an application to combine 25 and 17 South Fagan Ave properties with the existing Kia automobile lot at 3900 State Street. That includes a removal of one single-family dwelling and extend the automotive sales lot onto South Fagan Ave. And the project lead is Mr. Laflamme. Okay.
Good evening.
Good evening, everyone. Ron Trier is here from CHA Consulting, and we've prepared this site plan for the planning board, and I'll review with you some of the major, not so much major, but just some of the changes from the last set of plans that you've seen. The color rendering, I think, is a good place to start here and kind of go through what's going on with the site.
So could I just quickly interject
Yep.
here just to bring the board up to speed? So this rendering and color is the same plan you have in your packet. It's just a clearer version, so we thought it was appropriate to look
Yep,
at it.
Same layout that's in the packet. Yep, exactly. So you can see the two building additions that are going on. The one towards the top of the page is new service bay additions. The one to the side towards Fagan Street is a new service bay drop off. It's not a service bay, it's a service drop off for people bringing their cars in for service. So you have, and that is basically just a canopy. So there's a canopy for service drop off and new service bay addition. So those are the two building additions. The building itself will be completely renovated interior wise, the existing building. So, but the footprint expansions are shown in the color there. So just so clear what's going on with the building itself. And then for the updated site layout, we've kind of rearranged things a little bit to try to get a little more space on both the properties along South Amherst and adjacent residential properties. So the parking is basically at the right-of-way line on the Fagan side and maintains what is the required 8-foot offset from property lines on other sides. And a little more than that along the back of residential properties on Amherst. So the way we've got the parking lot laid out now, there's more than 8 feet. It ranges from, I think, 12 to close to 20 there. So there's a little bit more room on the ends of the curve of that part of the parking lot to allow us to do a couple things. So what we're showing along that entire residential area there is a PVC, 6-foot PVC vinyl fence going along the back of those properties and then turning and going up towards Amherst Street. So, and on the inside of that, on our property side of that, we're showing a row of evergreen screening going in that entire length. So the fence plus the evergreen screening to, kind of isolate the residential neighborhood a little bit from the activities on the site here. Zoom back out just a hair, Laura. The new entry drive we're showing going into the site off of Fagan Avenue comes into the site and goes up for vehicle delivery. Oh, thank you. Yeah. So a new driveway coming in off of South Fagan. So this is what is showing a vehicle delivery truck coming in. So circulate in off of Fagan, position somewhere around in here, unload the vehicles off the streets, and then be able to exit out onto State Street. So that kind of a motion through the site. And, the primary goal being that to get them off the road. So with the goal, the entire lot will be regraded, repaved. So we're going to improve the grading, resurface the lot. The spruce tree is being saved. It's in the corner of the expansion lot that's toward the top of the page. So this is the spruce tree, and we've got some clearance around it that can be maintained. We're showing street trees along Fagan and a 5-foot sidewalk connecting to the existing sidewalk on State Street, and proceeding to the edge of the property at 33. So new street trees, new sidewalk along Fagan. We're also showing trees along Amherst. Those will need to be a little smaller, more of an ornamental tree, because there is a wire that's going to conflict if the trees aren't a smaller variety along Amherst. So we have new trees there, new street trees here, some tree planting along the new entrance drive where the truck will be entering to get into the site also.
I'm sorry, did you mention they moved the dumpsters?
Yes, so dumpster currently is in this corner and somewhat close to residential property. The dumpsters now will be, we're showing them located here, which gets them to what is supposed to be the 25-foot offset from the residential line. And, and they will be screened there at that location. Both by the trees that we're showing along the white PVC fence and by the enclosure around the dumpsters themselves. So much better position for that relative to the residences also.
I have a question, just not to interrupt you, but the double stacked parking doesn't exist in this diagram. Just curious.
The double stack parking is not shown in this layout. No, it's not. And there may be some double stack parking that takes place in some of the the lots that is just designated for new vehicle parking. Over here, but we're not showing that specifically now. The way the layout shakes out now with moving the parking down to, excuse me, down to the right-of-way line on Fagan, it makes a little less sense from a layout perspective the way it is now.
It makes less sense to use them the way that it's laid out now.
Yeah.
Yeah, gotcha. Was there a reduction in overall parking as a result of that?
The overall parking in this scheme is around 203. So we're gaining about 40 to 45 spaces from what is currently on the site now.
And wasn't it around 250 before?
It was higher before. I think the exact number, was it might have been 250, but I think it was probably closer to 220 what it was before.
Okay.
Yeah.
You had a max of 246 and now you're down to 203.
Yeah.
I like it better without the double stack parking though. I think it's a really good layout.
I agree.
So I think that was most of what I wanted to cover here. I think, really, the layout is a little different from the last time you saw it, but, honestly, the whole existing site is getting, new surfacing, regrading, and the alignment of the new driveway is the big thing that we're introducing. This lot over here is a little bit different, the layout, just because it's shifted towards Fagan, allows us a little more space for screening here toward the residences, and got us a little further away from the spruce tree that we're trying to save. Anything else to highlight here? I think that's when we're showing a little bit of landscaping over here across the street in the reconditioning lot to try to dress that up a little bit also.
So that I was going to ask that question. So that actually is incremental screening. Is it going to be placed to help address the neighbors' concerns of sound and visual impact?
Yes.
Where's the stormwater going?
Stormwater will be subsurface, and the location for that will primarily be in this lot over here, the new lot that's being developed on the lots that we're expanding the parking into. So subsurface storm will be in this lot and be discharged to the existing system now. Goes out to a manhole that's about in here and then goes down Fagan, crosses over into the stream that runs along this side of Fagan. So what we'll be doing is tying into that same outlet system at the same rate of discharge that's there now. And we'll probably have hydrodynamic treatment units for water quality and then subsurface storage to release it at the same rate into the system where it goes now down Fagan.
Does that get reviewed by the town?
Yeah, we do have I think a quote for a TDE on this one. So we're ready with the engineering.
Just for the sake of awareness, snow storage, would that be where some of the green spaces?
Snow storage, I think we'll be using some of these landscaped areas on the sides of the entry drive and also some of the areas between the lot and Fagan, because it's pretty much most of it. And there's a little bit of room over here, on these sides of the expansion lot.
Were some of the parking reduction a result of some of the town's restrictions or requirements to save the spruce? I mean, does that clearance?
Well, the
Keep it
spruce,
healthier
the spruce, getting a little more clearance on that was maybe a couple of spaces. I think in looking at this from an engineering perspective in more detail, some of the grading requirements required a little more green space to get the grading to work the way I think is appropriate for the truck entering the site, and also to try to make these lots a little bit more of a normal slope with the grading. So integrating the grading into the thought process of this layout reduced the parking a little bit. It's really not that much different in the total count.
So at the end of September, you had the town board meeting. The project was approved for the application.
Special use permit.
Special use permit. And then with that came a bunch of findings. So like we did previously tonight, we'll, if this is the plan that we're going to be moving forward, we'll do the same thing. We'll go through those findings. We'll start to refine that. The TDE will be brought on board. And then we'll, I believe what the next step is to get this into the final design phase for the site plan approval, correct?
Yep. Yeah, we need to go through detailed engineering with grading, with
Mhm.
stormwater, and advance the plans.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, great. Well, I think just seeing this plan in the packet for this meeting tonight is definitely an improvement. You know, there's quite a lot of enhancement of plantings and green space. It looks like you've thought out using the detention areas as buffers and how you can downstream that stuff naturally. Circulation around that trapezoidal site is not easy. And, showing where the tractor trailer comes in and discharges out, I think is a great safety improvement, along with all the other pedestrian upgrades that are around that. So, yeah.
It's a tough site. There's a lot of topo there. It's losing 20 feet from Amherst down
Mhm.
to Fagan across State Street there. So there's a lot of topo. It's the access considerations to get a tractor trailer on the site. There's a lot going on. Yeah.
I would only add that for all along this process, the applicant has been listening and responding in kind to the feedback. And the town board was pretty clear that because of the zoning of CH, the need to screen the neighbors with vegetation and things of that nature. Clearly, this design shows even more of an interest to be a neighbor to the community. So, and take the feedback, very seriously as to what the findings were. So I just wanted to make mention that in short time, I'm seeing something that has a reduction in parking, more green space, better water control as a result of that, not cramming, more storage on a smaller area. So I really appreciate that.
Yep.
Okay, great. All right. Any other questions?
Yep. Thank
Okay.
you very much.
All right. Thank you for your time. All right. Next up is 1335 Balltown Road, an application for a 6-foot by 8-foot garbage dumpster enclosure. Hi, good evening.
Good evening.
Go ahead and introduce yourself.
My name is John Samatolsky, and I am the owner of 1335 Balltown LLC, which is the owner of 1335 Balltown Road.
Okay.
And there was a request. We've never had a garbage enclosure, but there's 2 tenants now, and they're not currently sharing one container. So we're trying to, and I think it's a requirement to have a garbage enclosure. The original location that we were proposing, there's Verizon lines that run underneath. And we spent a couple months, it's still unclear to me through Verizon whether they're live or not. What is clear is they're not going to remove them. And if they are live and we damage them, then it's a gray area. So we've selected another area, which we feel, is not viewable from the street. There, was a complaint from the neighbor across on Alton that was it's understandable. So that's the new enclosure. It's going to be small. We're going to have one container inside they will share. But I don't know questions or what else.
Sure. Which side will the container opening face? The parking lot side or the Buxton
Yes,
Street?
it'll
Okay.
open into the parking lot. Yep.
Okay. So trash pickup, the truck would come in, they would come down Alton, come into the parking lot, back up or get in there, take the trash refuse, or these, this is a bin that's in there, correct?
We're probably moving to like one single 4-yard container.
Okay, right.
This would accommodate individual bins or for, a 4-yard container, which should be plenty for the building.
Okay. And that would require a truck to come back up to it, tip it, drop it back down.
Yes, we are going to have at grade, like pavers, the type of pavers that just naturally drain. The container will be on wheels so it can be pulled out. And then there would be 2 gates.
Okay.
What would the material be used for the gates?
It would be cedar fencing, it's shown there. So
I'm curious why maybe you did consider more of a resin or a plastic. How well is that going to weather during our winters?
well, it's going to gray over time. It's a natural cedar. It's actual fencing. It's made, to be durable and to naturally weather. I think if 4 or 5 years from now, we needed to kind of stain it the way you would a fence. But we thought just having it naturally gray, if, you folks feel more strongly it should be a synthetic material, we're going to do a little landscaping around it. We thought it was the better design choice, but it certainly is no less expensive. So if people prefer plastic or fiberglass fencing, we'd be happy to do that.
I'm sorry, what kind of cedar did you say it was?
It's cedar fencing.
Just cedar fencing.
Cedar, yeah.
Okay.
So that's more durable,
Mhm.
it's meant for this climate.
And just to confirm, so that the truck will come from Alton back into the driveway to pick up, or
Yep.
drive straight in, pick it up and then back out.
Well, they usually come very early in the morning before the schools are open. And yes, they would be able to back in. We've confirmed that.
For the clarity purpose, I don't know, we don't really have too much involvement in your choice of material, but I actually like the cedar myself. There's not a lot of plastic in that structure. There's a lot of brick, a lot of natural stone, and it might be even more visible if it was a white vinyl versus this grayed out wood to the neighbors that are just adjacent to Buxton near VA.
Right.
Yeah.
Actually, it says, I had to Google it because I've never seen an enclosure made out of wood. Usually it's a gate or of metal or something. And it says cedar fencing is very good for the winter due to its natural resistance to rot, decay, and moisture. That's extremely surprising. I learned something tonight.
It's also not like a Dunkin' Donuts. It's not going to get the kind of abuse that I think, that a busier location might.
Okay.
And you expect it to be just weekly pickup?
Yes.
I do think it's important because it's so close to the lot line to show landscaping on the site plan.
Okay.
Because it will actually be close to the single family home on Buxton Drive now.
Yes.
did
Are
them-
you saying you want me to come back with a landscaping plan or
Yeah,
describe
I think we
it
should
now?
make sure that the landscaping is on the plan. Yeah.
Yeah, there
Um,
is some landscaping there now, but yeah, I can. So that would be a more detailed design you're looking for?
Yeah. Because we definitely would want to screen like a 6-foot fence. They're typically not allowed in the front yard of our, home. So it is tall and it's going to be basically in the front yard of that home on Buxton. So I definitely think you're going to have to soften that transition from the residential home to the commercial.
Yeah, we're happy to do that. know that it's kind of in the front yard. There's kind of a berm there, if you remember, from when Buxton was closed. So it's another, but yeah, we're happy to come in with that.
Mhm.
I actually have quite a bit of plant material. I have some hydrangeas and some other shrubs that I purchased from Northern, so we can do that. Would I have to come back for another meeting to get that approval?
Yeah, you have to come back for one more meeting anyway, at least, so.
Yeah, we
All
can,
right.
so you can take this plan here. You can show landscaping on it, as we just talked about. And then
Yep.
we can have a tentative resolution for next meeting, because it's relatively straightforward. The other thing that would be helpful too is if you took a photograph, maybe looking down from like Buxton and maybe one from the back parking lot. And that way we can just see where it's going to be positioned in relationship to the building and the back area that's adjacent to the school. That's always helpful as well.
Yeah. Now, you folks want to see this thing built, and we've got winter approaching, so would I be able to just put in the posts while we're sorting this out, or should we just wait?
So our next meeting is November 17th.
Right.
Of the voting. So if everything was in by then, I mean, we can't tell you not to do something, but
Right.
you know, without a building permit and approval, you just run the risk of.
I'll wait, but and then hopefully, you know, we'll still be able to bore into the ground at that point.
What's the current garbage situation or refuse situation?
It's currently kept on another location, kind of over by the playground.
Okay.
So
Just an open dumpster?
there's a roll off and then a couple singles.
Right. Okay. That one there with the yellow.
Yeah,
correct?
right here.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm curious, are the posts going to be secured to concrete?
Yeah, they're going to go below the frost line and they're going to be set in concrete.
That's why you're anxious about the timing.
Right. Yeah.
You just need a good day in November.
Right. All right. So anything else you want to see on the next go around besides landscaping?
Yeah, there's photos.
Oh, yeah.
Mhm.
Yep.
They're helpful to see.
Yeah. I think if anybody drives by there, if you pull in the lot, you'll see there is, you know, I think, you know, certainly with some additional landscaping, it will not, you know, negatively impact that house that is there.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
All right, next up is 3515 Rosendale Road, a sketch plan application for a 2-lot subdivision.
Yes.
Okay, we have a representative from the applicant online.
Yes, that's, I'm the owner. It's Asad Mufti.
Okay. Good evening.
Good evening. How are you today?
Good, how are you?
Good.
Okay, so the project entails taking an existing parcel and looking to subdivide it, correct?
That is correct.
Okay, so part of this parcel, this is one that straddles both municipalities, correct, Laura? Yeah, okay. Do we have to do a town of Colony referral with this?
Yeah, we
All
will.
right, but we are the lead agency because of the percentage, okay? So just so everybody understands where this is, where the old Rite Aid was, and off of Rosendale Road, there's that cut through access road that goes back between there.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So I think one of the things that we'll definitely need is we're gonna need an actual engineering drawing, like from Real Surveyor on this. This sketch plan, I think, relays what your intention is.
Yes.
Okay, but we need something with some sort of scale that's on there. I know the one looks like it was taken from looks like maybe like a Google map or something, or a website map that was scaled off of that. But
Right.
something that shows the actual lot dimensions, things like that will be required. On either of the plans, there's a hand-drawn line that's a square that abuts the 0.6 acre lot and the 1.1 acre lot. What is that demarcation?
Yeah. So before I answer the question, my question was, so the engineering design and the survey, are they two separate things? I mean, or is just the surveyor is good enough, or do I have to have an engineer too?
Just a survey.
Yeah,
on
just
this.
a,
Just
just
a
a
survey.
survey that
Got
would
it.
show the existing lot configuration, and then the second drawing would be the proposed subdivision.
Okay, so now to answer your question, so this lot is 1.6 acres, and what I wanted to do is divide into two pieces.
Mhm.
So, one piece will be 1.1 acre where my current house is. The other piece will be, roughly that, 0.60 acre.
Okay.
That's why I thought it's just a sketch, and, that's why I just, gave you this sketch, that's all.
So the square is a landlocked home. Right now, that
That
home
is
has
correct.
a driveway onto Rosendale Road.
Okay.
And I mean, Assad, correct me if I'm wrong,
Yes.
I believe you want to potentially combine the 0.6 acres with the landlocked home. So that landlocked home wouldn't be landlocked anymore.
Yes.
Okay.
That's the square.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's a separate owner.
it's a separate owner. And the square was there in the from the internet, so that I was unable to erase it, and that's number one. And number two, I wanted to show you guys why I was separating it. That's because of that square.
Which would then be like a lot combination, like wouldn't need planning board approval.
Correct.
You could just combine them.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think we understand the intent of what you're looking to do here. But the next step would be is to get an actual survey drawing with, real contours on there showing the locations of the housing, proposed driveways, where the lot would be divided up. And then once that's submitted to the planning department, we can take another look at this.
Time.
Yeah, the only other thing I have
Yes.
to yeah,
Yes.
the only other thing I do have to check is it's like an easement, like that road is like an easement. It's not a public road, but it's a public. I just have to check the easement and make sure that that
Okay.
actually counts as improved frontage.
That's fine.
You can drive through there.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you can
There's
drive
no
from there. Yeah,
barriers
you can
or
drive.
anything. You can cut through there if you choose to.
Yeah, but I think, because it did, Mr. Lisi actually had a development on here at one point. It did have, I think it's actually an easement between this owner and the Colony property. But I'll look. I have to go look at it again.
Yes, so I do have another question. At the beginning, guys said it's gonna be two towns approval. So while I'm working on the survey, because it's gonna take me a few weeks, are you guys gonna work on getting the referral from Town of Colony?
So I think we need a more comprehensive plan package to present to them. They're going to ask the same questions that we do. They're going to want to see an engineered survey drawing.
Okay.
What existing structures are there? What you're proposing. So once we get that, then that makes the process go a little smoother.
I can reach out to them and let them know that it's coming, but yeah, they'll see the survey drawing too.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions? All right. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
All right. And last up, 6 St. Gerard, sketch plan application for a major subdivision. Thank you.
Hi, Lisa, how are you? Hey, Laura, was that behind my office building? The lots?
Yeah, it's behind your office building.
Okay.
Yeah, you had a like a apartment complex or something.
For you, see it?
Yeah.
Something that's funky public road to get this.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I think we might actually have the easement in our file somewhere. I'll look.
Okay.
Hey,
How are you?
good. How are you?
I've been in a while. Hey, Clark.
Hello, hello?
All right. Laura, could you?
Oh,
bring
I
up
thought
the-
it was.
Just a minute.
plan?
Sorry.
That's all right. Okay. So we have an application here.
Yep.
Mr. Lucy, go ahead and bring us up to speed on the most recent developments to the property and then what's proposed. off
Okay,
of-
the northeast corner, that was a parcel that was part of the Posanelli subdivision, the last piece in the rear, which we had to consolidate with the remaining lands that I currently own, which is the house kind of center right. I sit on, I think, 17 acres of land. So we're taking the Posanelli parcel, adding some land from my main parcel to have one parcel. I think it's 3 something acres. When I got received my 4 lot approval 2 or 3 years ago, we had a condition that if we came back for a 5th lot, my son's moving back to the area. This is for him to build. We came back, we would come back for a major subdivision. And I think when the Posanelli piece got approved, that condition also applied to the parcel that got consolidated with my parcel. So we have water, sewer. The sewer main runs right through the parcel. From one side of St. Gerard to the other side. Water consists of a hydrant at the end of the north part of St. Gerard, which has never been dedicated except for the utilities that are in the ground to the town. There's a water line, sewer line. There's a stormwater pipe that is there as well on the north side. That strip that runs from my north property to Angelina, that strip of St. Gerard, I own that parcel as well. Antonia is developed. There's water, sewer, and a paved road to the end of Antonia. There we go. So I own the paper street. Even shows La Rappa. La Rappa used to own it. I bought it from them, and so he'll have access onto Antonia, which gives us the frontage. And putting the house consistent with my house, and my daughter's house is just south of that, so we're all kind of in line together. So I'm here for a major subdivision to get this. So I think it's is it a 3? I can't see. Is it 3 acres? I can't see the acreage. I forgot. Is it 6 acres? 3.5, yes, there it is. 3.57. Yes. So we'd probably do a lot line adjustment to get the land to combine with the parcel that came from Posanelli.
Okay. So the road, St. Gerard, you would be extending that road in to the property?
The paper street? No,
Correct.
not
No?
extending the road.
No, this would just be a driveway.
Just a driveway.
On the town maps, they do have paper streets that do connect through these areas. Is that correct?
No.
No, not anymore.
No, I don't think there was any when we did that.
No, years, there was the land of Posanelli, I think back in late 60s, early 70s. There was a layout there, but it was never approved. That was the quid pro quo when Mr. Posanelli gave that easement to the town. He wanted that parcel laid out with lots. I think there could have been 35, maybe 40 lots in there. When I got my parcel approved, we did away with that. So we got rid of all those lots that were kind of pre-approved, like its own little zoning district type of.
Yeah, they were allowed to be smaller than the
Right,
regular.
so they're only 15,000 square
Right.
feet. So I think, Dave, you and I walked the parcel, I think, yeah. So
On the back side, yeah.
we eliminated those lots. I agreed to eliminate the lots. But I also agreed to come back for a major when I wanted to get another lot. The only thing is when I agreed to that, I didn't own the Posanelli piece to the north. So we re-subdivided the original 17. Yes, it's a condition on that parcel as well. So I have to come back for a full subdivision. Major, I should say.
Since all the development that's been on, either from Vincenzo over into here, how has the water table or water drainage been specifically to like the northwest section of Lot 4 that you own?
Okay.
Have you noticed a change?
Okay.
Go ahead.
The water sheets from right to left. So it will go. It's lower on the second half of the parcel. That's the way it runs. This goes east to west of where it drains.
Okay.
Just saying, if
Oh,
there
pointer?
could be a pointer
Never
there
used
that you
one of
can
these.
use.
Oh.
Okay, we're really glad the other guy didn't walk away
How
with
do you
it.
use this thing? How do you turn it on? Okay. No, sorry. We're lawyers, not engineers, right, Rob?
Spacing the wrong thing.
Okay, well, I think we know the.
I can walk, if you wanted to walk up to the,
No, you got to take the microphone with you, but I think we got a pretty good. All right, so basically, I mean, the contours and everything, it cheats basically to the upper left-hand.
upper left-hand corner.
Upper left-hand corner.
There is an actual stream in the upper left-hand corner. It all sheets to the stream, which goes under Angelina and it's up by the river.
There we go.
There you go.
Okay. One of the things that we're always concerned about when development comes in, especially when they're one of the last ones, is, what does it do to the water? How does it affect the water table? That's an area that's relatively flat. I know that you obviously have firsthand knowledge of that because you've built on the land there and what it is. So, when you go through this, process of looking at that water and water management is going to be a real key issue here on that.
But we got quite a bit of acreage to retain.
I'm sorry, I'm not understanding where the driveway is. Is it going to merge into the driveway of the residence that's right there?
He'll be accessing through the paper street.
Okay.
It's actually off of a completely different road than any of the other houses
Is
access
it
on.
Rao Road?
No, it's Angelina, right?
You're going to access through here, correct?
No,
That's
where-
correct.
Where does that go to?
That goes to Angelina. It was actually, it was developed but not paved.
Yeah.
So who maintains that?
We currently use that currently.
This wind up with the TDE as well?
Yeah, we'd have a TDE look at this one. I do think there's probably enough here for a sketch plan, but the major subdivision review will have all of the TDE and stuff like that.
As I recall, that was our major concern, should this actually come in.
That's fine.
Okay. Who was the lead for the last one? I know I did the other one.
Was it me?
I don't remember. We could look in the files.
Who was the
project lead on this subdivision?
Was it
David, it was,
what's his name? Skin and
Like
Scrubby
Tennis?
I think it was.
Okay, yeah. I did.
Was it? I know, I think it was. Yeah, I think it was him.
I did Vincenzo. I remember that. So,
Yeah, I believe
okay.
so.
All right. Okay. So obviously engineering is going to get lined up through planning department. Again, this would be a good one to have a project lead. Take a look at it. A site visit is always helpful.
Yeah.
Even this time of year while the trees are, losing their leaves. We walked it in the fall before. You can see the topography there. Again, I just touched on this. There's like a little, I'll call it like a water collection stream that kind of runs through there. Was that low lying? Didn't it move its way
You
through?
see where that encroachment is? On the right there.
Yeah.
Right there. The stream is right where that encroachment is.
Okay.
It runs from there, it runs along straight, it hugs the property line. And then it continues south. So if you move the map up a little bit. Yeah, keep coming. Yeah, go along that'd be the west side, close, it hugs the west side. Then it goes to the bottom, then it goes right. Then right there, it comes from the Mohawk Club. That's a ravine that goes out to the Mohawk Club.
Okay.
So it wraps around the site and comes around and it goes out to a big culvert at the end.
I just have a question. I heard, Lou, you had mentioned, or you had mentioned a lot line adjustment with Paulsonelli.
Yeah, oh, well, the part of Post approval is it had to be consolidated with my lot. So we did a lot line adjustment to consolidate.
That's already been done.
Yeah, that's
What I
completed.
meant. Yeah, it's already been
Oh,
done,
yeah,
correct.
okay, got it.
Yep, yep. It's all done.
So is there something you guys would want to see on the sketch plan? Because we wouldn't normally do engineering until after sketch plan. Like, would we want to see the sort of the stream course on there? Intermittent stream course.
I mean, the topo lines are always helpful to have that on there, maybe where the existing water conditions are. And then just outlining clearly where the new lot subdivision is.
Yeah.
You know, just, you know, bolding those lines or even in red or something, just so it's.
We already
it's
have
crystal
the
clear.
engineering done on this when we did the first plot, water, sewer, and the topos are all done, so we already have those.
Add topo, add kind of water flow arrows or something.
Right. Okay, anything else?
Good
All right.
night. See you later.
Good. Thank you.
Thanks.
All right. So that wraps up discussion items. Thank you for everyone. Their diligence tonight. We had a pretty big agenda. Moving on to reports.
So the only thing I have is we will get a summary to you of what the changes are between the 2013 and the 2025 comp plan, but we would need to call for the public hearing just because we don't have any other meetings between now and our next November meeting.
How are we with I guess, the development of the plan? Are we ready to see a draft at the end of?
So, I mean, we've gone through every single chapter, and right now I'm incorporating all the comments from the committee into every single chapter and redoing the maps. And then I'm sending them to the consultant to put them in a draft format. It's definitely going to be a rough draft, but I feel like that's okay because if we get comments from the public or comments from you guys or whatever, we'll still have time and space to make updates. It's definitely not a final draft yet.
Does it have to be completed by the end of the year?
It doesn't have to be, but we're really trying.
Okay.
Yeah, it's always I think the goal, but when would the draft be available for us and the general public to take a look at that full
So
compilation?
trying to get the draft to you and the town board on October 31st. It's
Okay.
really tight, but that's what we're trying to do. If we miss that deadline, then we probably wouldn't have the public hearing yet. But I mean, it would give you 20 days really between, or close to that, between the draft and when it goes.
It's about 3 weeks. So
Yeah.
that's- Okay.
Mhm.
I would be supportive of that if we could definitely get, you know, a draft to review that we could make some comments on. And if not, we would push that to the first meeting in December.
Yeah, and then we'd probably push the town board one back too. But it may have to happen, but we're trying. We're trying. The consultant is putting everything aside and she's been working really well with me and we're trying to get the documents out. But we did just push the comprehensive plan back meeting 1 week so that we can have more of the draft for them to look at too.
Are you just down to one consultant that's helping out, or do you have others that are still bringing information in?
Really, it's just one consultant. Weston and Sampson's been helping us. We do have, I actually reached out to Mr. Scrabutanis to help us with make sure that the affordability of housing language was okay. Like, you know, the engineering department is trying to work and finalize the public utilities chapter. So there's some outside help, but really only one paid consultant.
Okay.
So tentatively, we're having the public hearing on the 17th?
Yeah, the next planning board meeting. 17th, sorry.
Yeah,
I
pending the
think
draft
town board
gets
must
out
be
by the end of
20th.
the month.
Yeah. Mhm.
That's why I said tentative.
And we can let you know by, I mean, obviously you'll know by October 31st if it, but I just wanted to make sure that everybody's okay with us holding that public hearing if we have it in time.
I mean, it's obviously, it's such an important document to not only the town, but for what we do. So it's incumbent on us to have time to review it. You know, they do need to get our feedback on that. So, you know, planning department or planning board needs to have time to get through that. And then if there are specific sections that you do have an interest in that you want to extrapolate on, you know, let Laura know, and the other committee members, Leslie being one of them, that if there's something you wanted to hone in on or you have a specific interest on, that's always helpful too, especially at this stage when we're looking at, you know, seeing it through that lens of how we look at projects through the planning perspective is always helpful.
Definitely.
All right.
Can I say something real quick?
Sure.
Rivers Ledge kind of blows me away a little bit, I have to tell you. Because if you remember, a little over a year ago, we had the same incident happen with an apartment complex, and we made them take that sign down and bring it to code. You remember? Maybe you don't.
Was it Hillside or?
It's
Hillside
on,
Apartments?
yeah, it's right there.
They had a lot of wayfinding. problems and stuff like
Right,
that.
but I think we were talking about essentially the monument
monument
sign,
sign.
right?
I think the
So,
complexity was that they find incorporated into the monument.
okay. I'm really challenged with believing that all of the developments that this developer has, that he wasn't aware of this. And so I'm really, I'm looking forward to driving down there during the day. Because if Leslie said it doesn't bother her, then I need to look at this.
I said I'm not bothered by the idea of it having internal lighting
Okay,
because that stretch of aqueduct is very tough to negotiate
Yeah.
at night.
okay. I think that, in this way, we put out that build it and beg for forgiveness later. And that really concerns me because over time, Niskuna becomes a pushover. Because, oh, just bring it to them and you just tell them you didn't see it or you didn't know it went up, or then fine them an unbelievable fine. Make it a problem for them to do this. I don't believe that he didn't know.
This hasn't been this is not the only one recently, because even Over had their sign up before.
Well, that's true. That's true.
So I'm not.
They had their monument sign up before. They didn't have any of their building signs.
No, I'm talking about the one on Ball Town.
Yeah, I know. They had the monument sign up early. Yeah.
Well, I just wanted to put that out there. And I'm looking forward to driving down there and looking for myself. But to have something that's twice the height, they could have done a monument sign and still been in compliance with our code.
Yeah, I completely understand the frustration. I do want to point out, though, that this developer has actually been pretty good to work with. I would say, generally speaking, when we've asked them to do something, they do it, and they do a pretty good job, and they've done a lot of public improvement. So it's not a pass, but they aren't, I wouldn't call them like a chronic offender. I do think that we missed the monument signs, but action signs knows better. Like if I were to hold anybody's feet to the fire like that, I mean, action sign takes signage to the zoning board. Like we know those guys. Like that's.
Well, make no mistake, though, that developer makes very impressive developments.
Yeah.
He uses
I-
top of the line everything. They're stunning when they're done. So I'm not taking away anything about that. I have a little bit of an issue with it.
Yeah, and we all should, right? Because things shouldn't go up but without, and it was an enforcement action from our department. So,
I suspect somebody in the company had to give an approval. I don't think the gentleman who came to speak with us was that person.
agreed.
And that is probably why he was sent.
Yeah,
Intentionally so.
agreed.
I mean,
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah. The zoning board sees things built like fairly regularly and they get really frustrated with people. Yeah.
Maybe we could do something with the fee structure.
Yeah. So
That if
actually,
you're coming in after it's already built,
they double in Schenectady, they do that. You could get double the permit fees if you get a stop work order.
I like that approach. I really do.
Yeah, maybe it would make. Yeah. At least it should. You can make them take that sign down. it is huge, but
And I only caught a glimpse of it as I was going by. Only one of them. I didn't see both.
I live
So-
right there. I drive by it all the time.
I
I'm
don't
the
have
one
as
that
much
started the
occasion to go on Aqueduct as I used to.
Yeah.
I do still use it.
We'll have the opportunity to take a look at it. So let's put our eyes on it.
Well, we should have asked him to do a rendering. Maybe we'll email him a rendering of what a compliant sign. Well, they don't really have a compliant.
So that's the thing. They don't have a
Yeah, they
compliant
don't.
side. So it's, I know they're
Yeah.
coming to us basically for forgiveness for what they've done. But the PUD, sometimes they think they have a little bit more autonomy with something that they might be able to do. I agree. I don't think it was calculated, but it was intentional to design that sign, have it put up. And like you said, some of these companies have done enough work in Niskayuna, they should be aware of that.
Actually, if they're professionals, they should pretty much know to check each town.
Okay.
Do you have a project lead for that?
We do not.
I'm so curious.
Okay, thank you.
And I'll be out and about a lot this week.
Other ones that could definitely use a project lead are 6 St. Gerard, which is the Lisi property. The nail spa looks like it's pretty straightforward.
Rosendale Road needs one.
Rosendale Road would be another good one as well for the sketch plan for the 2-lot subdivision. Okay. Any other commission business? Right. If none, motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Ms. Cole, second by Ms. Strang. All in favor state by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Meeting is adjourned at 9:45 PM. Thank you, everyone.